Hey, Auntie Fee about the facts. What it do? Sorry. I had to make some back screens for all that's going on. And there's a lot going on. A lot of breaking news. Another arrest. The Brits has arrested Lord Peter Mandelson over the Epstein fallout, cover-up, conspiracy. Plus, the judge blocked more info being exposed from the Jack Smith investigation. So let's just jump in. I'm already behind the news. Which one is this? So let's pop in, get in where we fit in. Then I also read something that the same way they did Biden, hell, they may be doing that with Trump. What you talking about, Willis? Yeah, that's what they saying. Trump may not be Trump. Maybe that's why sometimes he got a blue eye, green eye. You know, we gonna jump into that too. It's a lot on. Yeah. And I know they don't want it to come out if they talking about trade information, private confidential information to foreign countries. I know they want to block that from Trump because what they done got Andrew and now Peter. Hell, that's what Jack been trying to get out on Trump. Yeah, let's go. Fix it, Lord.
Breaking news this morning. British police have made another arrest in connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Peter Mandelson is a former UK ambassador to the United States. The 72-year-old has been taken into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Oh, he was right here by Trump? Oh, shit. Hold on. So, right here, oh, yeah. Get him. Start telling. All y'all start telling on Trump. Get that ass up out of here. Him. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he in trouble. He been lying. He done got busted. You wasn't there, I don't think. Yeah, it's all still tied to him. This one right here on his shoulder. Who are you? I don't know. Oh, hell yeah. Here it is. Oh, breaking news. When it all started crumbling. And you done let old girl out of prison too? And that ain't came out just yet. Thank you, Mrs. Tom. Hello, everybody in the bushes. Come down, hit the like button. Let's go. Thank you, Samantha. See there? It's all tied to him. Y'all thought y'all was covered. Y'all thought y'all had it all together. Let's go. Let me back this thing up like a big booty. Back that thing up. Hey, let's go. Back that thing up. Let's start over with this breaking news, boo-boo. I didn't know that this was what was going on up in here. Let's go.
We are following breaking news this morning. British police have made another arrest in connection.
Get his ass. Hey, Roderick. Hey, Samantha. Thank you.
UK ambassador to the United States. The 72-year-old has been taken into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police are investigating whether Mandelson passed sensitive government information to Epstein more.
And see, that's the same thing that judge denied. Sensitive information. All them damn documents that was not supposed to be in his house. Now, look at here now. I don't know just yet, but this may be compliments of that red folder that Ivanka, we talked about it last week, a week before, where Ivanka had to give up that yellow folder. Y'all remember that? Maybe these names and everything, and I'm trying to find. Oh Lord, let's go. I wasn't expecting this, y'all. Can y'all tell? Oh yes, let's go. You all up under this fat rat's ass. And hell, they say he may already be gone. They may have did a Biden on him. But carry on. Let's go.
They're investigating whether Mandelson passed sensitive government information to Epstein more than a decade ago. He comes just days after the former Prince Andrew was arrested.
Play.
No annoying ads.
Where is that?
No Wi-Fi? No problem. Play anywhere. Stunning low.
The fallout from the Epstein files has sent another shockwave through the British establishment. Former ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He's seen here being led away by police from his home in North London. Police previously searched 2 properties linked to Mandelson in Wiltshire.
They snatching
North London
properties?
earlier in
Oh,
February.
walk that ass out. The walk of shame. Hold on. Walk that ass back. The walk of shame. Justice for the victims. Yeah, y'all was laughing all in their face the other day. Laugh now, cry later. Ain't that what they say? Hold up. That walk of shame. You ought to be ashamed of your damn self. Ucking with them kids and people who didn't want y'all nasty asses. Have you looked at yourself? Don't nobody want to uck with you. What's wrong with you? Y'all, you back your ass up and you have that walk of shame all by yourself. You old goat. Crip walk. Walk your ass up out of there.
2 properties linked to Mandelson in Wiltshire and North
Take
London
all his
earlier
properties.
in February over suggestions that he passed market-sensitive government information to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Let's take you live to London. Al Jazeera's Charlie Angela is in Westminster. What more can you tell us, Charlie, about the arrest?
Where is my stand?
Yes, well, everyone here in the UK is probably now seeing those pictures of Mandelson being led away from his central London home by police, and the property was being staked
Let
out
that ass
by a
away.
news
Where
outlet
is my
who
stand?
seems got lucky. So it comes after police carried out searches on 2 properties belonging to Mandelson, looking, as you say, for documents relating to allegations that Mandelson passed on sensitive information that could have moved markets to his close friend Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile, in 2009. Now, this is when Mandelson was at the heart of the Labour government under Tony Blair, at a time when governments were looking for bailouts. He would have been in discussions with European counterparts as well. And it looks like documents would have been seized during those searches, and that might now be what the arrest has been based on. Now, Mandelson has denied any wrongdoing, and he has expressed his regret for his close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, but his fall from grace has been absolutely seismic. Just last year, this man was the US ambassador, the UK ambassador to the US. He was sharing jokes with President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And he has been at the heart of the Labour government for decades and has had a pretty Teflon-resistant career. He has had to resign twice, but both times he has bounced back. He was made a Lord, but he has now had to resign from the House of Lords and lost his title. So we will wait to hear what police reveal, to see how long he's questioned for as well.
You are a problem.
But this is going to be a huge blow for Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who has really had to come back fighting and defend his appointment of Peter Mandelson, which he has now said he didn't know the extent to which Mandelson maintained his ties with Jeffrey Epstein. But it has been a huge blow to Keir Starmer. This arrest is just going to add fuel.
Let's go. Let's start off. I got it now.
Of misconduct in public office. He's seen here being led away by police from his home in North London. Police previously searched 2 properties linked to Mandelson in Wiltshire and North London earlier in February over suggestions that he passed market-sensitive government information
to
the
get
convicted
Trump.
sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Let's take you live to London. Al Jazeera's Charlie Angela is in Westminster. What more can you tell us, Charlie, about the arrest?
Yes, well, everyone here in the UK has probably now seen those pictures of Mandelson being led away from his central London home by police. The property was being staked out by a news outlet who seems got lucky. So it comes after police carried out searches on 2 properties belonging to Mandelson, looking, as you say, for documents relating to allegations that Mandelson passed on sensitive information that could have moved markets to his close friend Jeffrey Epstein,
stealing.
the convicted paedophile, in 2009. Now, this was when Mandelson was at the heart of the Labour government under Tony Blair, at a time when governments were looking to...
You didn't see the crib walk.
Who would have been in
You didn't see his ass
with
being
European
laid out.
counterparts.
In Wiltshire and office. He's seen here being led away by police from his home in North London. Police previously searched 2 properties.
Don't be looking to see who looking.
In Wiltshire and North London earlier in February over suggestions that he passed market-sensitive government information to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
That's what was in them files that Jack Smith been trying to and had it. Said he had Trump.
Yes, well, everyone here in the UK has probably now seen those pictures of Mandelson being led away from his central London home by police. The property was being staked out by a news outlet who seems got lucky.
Walk that ass out.
Police carried out searches on 2 properties belonging to Mandelson, looking, as you say, for documents relating to allegations that Mandelson passed on sensitive information that could have moved markets to his close friend Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile, in 2009. Now, this was when Mandelson was at the heart of the Labour government under Tony Blair, at a time when governments were looking for bailouts, who would have been in discussions with European counterparts as well. And it looks like documents would have been seized during those searches, and that might now be what the arrest has been based on. Now, Mandelson has denied any wrongdoing, and he has expressed his regret for his close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, but his fall from grace has been absolutely seismic. Just last year, this man was the US ambassador, the UK ambassador to the US. He was sharing jokes with President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And he has been at the heart of the Labour government for decades and has had a pretty Teflon-resistant career. He has had to resign twice, but both times he has bounced back. He was made a Lord.
Look.
He has now had to resign from the House of Lords and lost his title. So we will wait to hear what police reveal, to see how long he's questioned for as well, how long he will be held. But this is going to be a huge blow for Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who's really had to come back fighting and defend his appointment of Peter Mandelson, which he has now said he didn't know the extent to which Mandelson maintained his ties with Jeffrey Epstein. But it has been a huge blow to Keir Starmer. This arrest is just going to add fuel to the fire.
What are the likely political ramifications going to be, Charlie? Particularly, as you say, with the pressure right now.
Anywhere we can get them, Lord, we'll be satisfied. Ooh, that's a pretty balloon.
Well, we do know that they were discussing in Parliament today when new tranches of information relating to the appointment of Mandelson will be released. We understand that the government has been cooperating.
Hey, Monty, you got your popcorn?
In their investigations and handed over all relevant documents. But as you know, it has been within his own party. He's garnered support, but outside his party,
good old nasty man.
But it's not nasty just in the political establishment that we're getting repercussions. Of course, the former Prince Andrew, Lord Mountbatten, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, excuse me, we're getting used to his new title, is still under suspicion. We understand that Metropolitan Police today were speaking to his former protection officers who, it emerged, were asked to guard Andrew while he dined with Jeffrey Epstein in 2010, and they have been brought in for questioning. At the same time, former civil servants have also come forward anonymously giving information that when Andrew was trade envoy to the UK, he was filing unnecessary and excessive expenses, including charging for personal massages, charges that would have ultimately been passed on.
We're
to the
paying for him to get his
taxpayer. And while
nasty
there's
freak
no
off with kids.
evidence of any criminal wrongdoing that will have to be assessed, it does paint an incredibly unfavourable picture. But the message really, both from the palace and from the Prime Minister, is that nobody is above the law and that these investigations will have to run their course.
Charlie Angela reporting live from London. Many thanks, Charlie. Well, Peter Mandelson's arrest is the latest fallout from the Epstein files, a trove of documents.
Yank them down, Lord.
Jeffrey Epstein. Al Jazeera's Camille.
Yank them down.
Once a cornerstone of British politics, Peter Mandelson has had a tumultuous career. His last major appointment was as the UK's ambassador to the United States.
Let him be next.
My mother would be proud.
Mandelson was fired after allegations linking him to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Documents released by the US Department of Justice appear to show Mandelson shared confidential government information with Epstein, including memos on the state of the British economy in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis and the prospect of an EU bailout. Information he had access to during a decades-long career in the British government and as EU Trade Commissioner. Those revelations shook the government of Keir Starmer, leaving the UK Prime Minister fighting for his political life, as he tried to justify how and why he appointed a man who many believe should not have passed a background check.
At the time I appointed him, I got answers from him which I believed to be true. He painted a picture of barely knowing Epstein.
If he's charged and found guilty, Mandelson could be sentenced to life in prison.
Sit him down for life.
For misconduct in UK public office are rare. Camille Nedelec, Al Jazeera.
Jonathan Tongue is a professor of politics at the University of Liverpool and a specialist on British and Irish politics. He joins us now.
Case, the alleged misconduct.
Oh, what happened?
The sharing
it
of
moved.
sensitive
Hold on.
government information with a private citizen, Jeffrey Epstein, who should
We
not
getting
have
here
received,
too.
Right? That seems to be what the main argument is.
hold
And I
on.
want to walk you through how we got to this arrest. Because after the January 2026 document dump, there were emails that surfaced from 2010.
It
So
don't want to stop. What in the world? I'ma get there. Hold on. Oh, it's trying to make me move faster than I want to move.
No annoying ads. No Wi-Fi? No problem. Play anywhere. Stunning.
The fallout from the Epstein files has sent another shock.
I'd like to have that accent. Thank you. My mother would be proud.
Mandelson was fired after allegations linking him to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Documents released by the US Department of Justice appear to show Mandelson shared confidential government information with Epstein, including memos on the state of the British economy in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis and the prospect of an EU bailout. Information he had access to during a decades-long career in the British government and as EU Trade Commissioner. Those revelations
Trump had them all in place.
Keir Starmer, leaving the UK Prime Minister fighting for his political life, as he tried to justify how and why he appointed a man who many believe should not have passed a background check.
At the time I appointed him, I got answers from him which I believed to be true. He painted a picture of barely knowing Epstein.
If he's charged
Barely
and found
knowing.
guilty, Mandelson could be sentenced to life in prison, although convictions for misconduct in UK public office are rare. Camille Nedelec, Al Jazeera.
Jonathan Tongue is a professor of politics at the University of Liverpool and a specialist on British and Irish politics. He joins us now live from Manchester. Good to have you with us, Professor. Seismic, our correspondent, called it. What's your reaction to the arrest of Peter Mandelson?
I think the arrest of Peter Mandelson was almost inevitable, given the arrest last week of the former Prince Andrew, now Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, because all the evidence we have to date is that Peter Mandelson was even closer to Jeffrey Epstein than was Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. I mean, Peter Mandelson was writing to Jeffrey Epstein when he was in prison and said
Love letters.
the injustice it had been the imprisonment of Jeffrey Epstein. And we do have some evidence via emails that shows that Peter Mandelson was passing on some aspects of cabinet governance to Jeffrey Epstein. There's some particular emails that deal with that. For example, he was advising him that the government was going to sell £20 billion of assets. He was advising on tax issues relating to the UK government. And Peter Mandelson encouraged the head of JP Morgan, a major American firm, to get in touch with the Chancellor, the UK Chancellor, to oppose bankers' taxes on bankers' bonuses. So for those pieces of evidence, I think it was almost inevitable that police would at least make inquiries over what Peter Mandelson has been up to.
As we've been hearing, Jonathan, Mandelson was one of the most consequential political operators of the new Labour era. I mean, how politically significant is it to see someone of his stature being arrested like this?
I think it's hugely politically significant because it shows bad judgment on the part of Tony Blair initially, who appointed Peter Mandelson, and Peter Mandelson had to quit cabinet twice because he was involved in controversies. Gordon Brown then made, or helped make Peter Mandelson a member of the House of Lords, so it reflects badly upon his judgment. And it certainly reflects badly upon the judgment of Keir Starmer as the current Prime Minister, because it's only a few months ago that Keir Starmer was, and I quote, declaring he had full confidence in Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador to the United States, arguably the most important ambassadorial posting that there is. It was under pressure from the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, that Keir Starmer began to row back from that. And now Keir Starmer says that Peter Mandelson lied to him. But surely the vetting of Peter Mandelson before he was given such a key appointment should have been far, far, far more thorough. We'll now see whether the UK police are more thorough in their investigations of Peter Mandelson.
What about the electorate? Given his history at the heart of government and the governing Labour Party, what are the immediate political ramifications of this arrest? What could it mean for Labour electorally? And you mentioned Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Could this bring him down?
Possibly, although I think that Keir Starmer has now sufficiently distanced himself from Peter Mandelson to avoid that. But I think the electorate will take a dim view of the Prime Minister's judgment in ever bringing Peter Mandelson into such a key post. And it might make those electoral tests that loom for Keir Starmer that much more difficult. He's got a very difficult by-election, Keir Starmer, in Gorton and Denton this week. Labour trying to cling on to that particular parliamentary seat. And he's got a huge set of elections.
Thank you, host 6484.
Local elections and Scottish and Welsh Parliament elections.
Thank you for the torch.
If there are questions at the
Thank
moment
you.
of Keir Starmer's judgment, then I think, at the moment, with his low polling rating, those elections look highly problematical at the moment for the Labour Party.
Good to talk to you, Professor. Many thanks indeed. Jonathan Tongue there in Manchester.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insight.
Hold on. Yes, indeed, baby. Yes, indeed.
So again, 2 years after Epstein's conviction. And they showed breaking news. There is more fallout from the release of millions of files related to convicted sex offender suspected sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Another bombshell arrest, and once again, it is happening across the pond. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Hey, Jesse.
Okay, real quick, if you're into content creation, if you're putting things out on social media, have you ever wondered how we're able to put so many of our clips out there so seemingly connected? To Jeffrey Epstein, then the investigations / sidebar to get a free week and then 50% off. Well, I will tell you, the fallout from the Epstein scandal is just continuing and continuing and continuing. I mean, we did a whole episode on all of the resignations and the investigations. Hey, I mean, we just covered a major arrest of a member of the British royal family.
Just not over here.
And we'll talk about that in a second. But what just happened? This is major. Lord Peter Mandelson, former UK ambassador to the United States, is now under arrest. British police announced Monday that a 72-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now, this is a little bit different than what we do here in the United States. So first, sometimes you have an arrest and then charges. We don't see official charges as of yet. And also, I will tell you what's different is the UK police, they typically don't name the subjects of investigations, but the subject of this particular case has been previously identified as Mandelson. And the way they describe it, I think you can put two and two together. However, I will tell you, despite the fact that the allegations against him are indeed or seemingly connected to Jeffrey Epstein, he has not been accused of committing any sort of sexual crimes or sex trafficking as far as we know, okay? The accusations, as far as we can tell, mirror those actually against former Prince Andrew. You see, Mandelson is accused of passing secret government information along to Jeffrey Epstein more than a decade ago. According to
That's what Jack Smith want to expose on Trump as well.
Police station for an interview. There are search warrants that were served at 2 addresses in connection with this case. So I said that, he's accused of passing sensitive information to Epstein when he was serving as business secretary from 2008 to 2010. There are also allegations, by the way, of financial transfers that we'll talk about. Although, to be clear, we cannot confirm that this is in fact the basis of the arrest at this point. And to be clear, there's no charges that have been filed yet.
Oh, I know they've been stealing how 6485
has been in the hot seat. Not the first time that we've covered him here on Sidebar. He was fired from his diplomatic post by his boss, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, back in September. That is when the U.S. House Oversight Committee released images of a 50th birthday album that was put together back in 2003 for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday, reportedly by his on-again, off-again girlfriend, associate, now convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. And in his part of the birthday book,
has been
Mandelson,
released,
apparently included several photos of himself and Epstein, as well as a note that said Jeffrey was his, quote, best pal, allegedly signed it, "Happy birthday, Jeffrey, we love you." I mean, that's backed up by this email from seemingly Mandelson to Epstein. "Nat mentioned you at lunch, and she erased my comment that you are one of my best friends." Now, I'm sure while those emails are important, I'm not really sure that's why he's getting arrested. Yeah, there's been questionable things, and I'll get into it, about the exchanges between him and
however they
Epstein.
can
Like,
get
for example,
him in.
Mandelson had even seemingly or allegedly suggested at one point that Epstein's conviction for solicitation of a minor back in 2008 was wrongful and that it should be challenged. Now, of course, Mandelson underwent an extensive vetting process before he was selected to be the ambassador to the United States, but it's been reported that his prior ties to Epstein had been known, but apparently significantly downplayed. This is according to reporting like outlets like AP News. Now, like others who had been connected to Epstein or affiliated with Epstein, Mandelson said he regretted any interactions that he might have had with Epstein 20 years ago, swore he knew nothing about his criminal activities or his alleged criminal activities. But as more and more documentation was released by the Department of Justice, Mandelson's connection to the convicted sex offender was called into question. I'm going to give you an idea. I want to read you some communication. So you have this exchange from 2009. And it allegedly surrounds Epstein's release from prison.
What you saying? She
Jeffrey
underwater?
served 13 of his 18-month sentence. And again, it's those Florida state charges: solicitation of prostitution with a minor under 18 as part of that guilty plea. Here's how that went. From Jeffrey Epstein, seemingly, to Mandelson.
Oh, yeah, I covered that since Friday. Host 6485.
Right back. How should we celebrate? Epstein writes back, with grace and
it was done
modesty.
secretly,
Those are the
quietly.
names of 2 strippers. Mandelson allegedly writes back at one point, "How is freedom feeling?" Epstein writes back, "She feels fresh, firm, and creamy." And then Mandelson appears to write back to Jeffrey Epstein, "Naughty boy." But again, I don't really think that this is why he's reportedly getting arrested. See, the Metropolitan Police, they launched this investigation into Mandelson for allegedly providing Epstein with information, market-sensitive information, government information, when he was acting as business secretary in the British government. For example, you have this email from June 2009 where Mandelson appears to write to Epstein, "Interesting note that's gone to the PM," meaning Prime Minister. So it appears to be this note that was sent to the Prime Minister about business issues and a plan of action, including the sale of assets. And this is to which Epstein appears to write back, "What saleable assets?" How about this one, where Mandelson allegedly gave Epstein a heads up that a 500 billion euro bailout had been agreed to tackle the Eurozone crisis. So you get this email from Jeffrey Epstein, again to Peter Mandelson. Sources tell me 500B euro bailout almost complete. And Mandelson appears to write back to Epstein, SD be announced tonight.
This is what would happen to your body if you ate mood sleep gummies every day. Day 1, you take your first gummy.
Y'all please hit the like button.
Maybe expecting disappointment.
How about this one? Email exchange in 2009 about Epstein seemingly asking Mandelson to petition the government to amend the upcoming bank bonus tax. Epstein writes, any real chance of making the tax only on the cash portion of the banker's bonus? And from, again, who appears to be Peter Mandelson to Epstein, trying hard to amend, as I explained to Redacted last night, Treasury digging in, but I am on the case. Last year, Mandelson said to the Financial Times, I regret ever meeting him or being introduced to him by his partner Ghislaine Maxwell. I regret even more the hurt he caused to many young women. Now, according to the outlet, the Standard, Mandelson stepped down from the House of Lords after the most recent release of Epstein documents, but parliamentary procedure lets him keep his title, at least for now. Now, according to Time, I have to mention this too as we talk about what the investigation could be about, the Epstein files also apparently show these financial transfers from Epstein to Mandelson-affiliated accounts as well, so we'll see if anything comes from that. But remember, this is all happening in the wake of what I mentioned before, another major arrest in the UK, the arrest of formerly Prince Andrew. Now, to give you a context about that, here's our former sidebar episode, our previous sidebar episode on all of that. Take a look.
If you've been watching the news today, you have heard that the Thames Valley Police arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
And all of them was
prison. Reportedly
PDFers.
Just after 8 a.m. local time, 6 unmarked police vehicles show up at Andrew's place. Oh, and he was taken into custody on his 66th birthday. Now, he remains in custody at the time of this recording. At this point, it doesn't appear he's officially been indicted, so just arrested on suspicion of this charge. But I will tell you, if the charges follow, okay, this would mark, it's already been marked, a historic moment. You have a senior member of the British royal family arrested in connection with actions tied to official government duties. Now, the Thames Valley Police issued a statement early on that read, as part of the investigation, we have today arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of
Hold on. Let's see what I want to hear what Don Lemon had to say. That's who I was trying to tap into earlier.
Administration or regime here in the United States that is deserving of misconduct. DC may be okay. I was wondering, are they going to keep the State of the Union? But apparently, I guess they are, because this morning I was told it wasn't even snowing. It's barely snowing in DC, so we shall see.
Host 6484 Boo, please put this on a super chat or super sticker.
Station here,
put that question on a super chat or super sticker for me, please.
We want to know where you're streaming from. Hello, Maryland in the house. This morning we had people from all over the world, Dublin, everywhere. So, Korea. Crazy, huh? The Lemon Nation it's huge, it's large, and it is strong. So, but here's the thing. In this nation, the United States of America, our elected officials, our diplomats, the folks who are in charge, legislators, all of those who have been mentioned in the Epstein files and who have admitted having relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, planning business ventures, Howard Lutnick, and other things, they have not suffered any consequences.
Right.
Just over an hour or so ago, maybe 2 hours ago, British police arrested Peter Mandelson. Peter Mandelson is the former British ambassador to the United States. He was arrested following allegations that he passed confidential government information to Jeffrey Epstein, the late prolific sex offender. One of the, probably
he's still alive
in modern history. London's Metropolitan Police began that investigation of Mr. Mandelson earlier this month, said in a statement, officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Statement added that the man had been taken into a station in London to be formally formally interviewed. Now, so we'll see what that means, but formally interviewed. Interesting. The police did not name Mr. Mandelson in line with business rules that ban them from identifying suspects before any charges are brought. Now remember, very similar thing, Prince Andrew, they didn't say his name or the former Prince Andrew initially, and then it was discovered that it was former Prince Andrew. But there's footage from the BBC showing Mr. Mandelson being led from his home into an unmarked police car by plainclothes police officers and driven away at around 4:30 p.m. local time. Mr. Mandelson was not handcuffed and was carrying a bottle of water. And so I'm going to show you a report, but this arrest is the latest dramatic development in Britain to follow the U.S. Justice Department's release of files, following the U.S. Justice Department release of the files related to Mr. Epstein, and makes a new low for Mr. Mandelson, who's a veteran Labour Party strategist and one of Britain's best-known political figures. So, it's coming just days after former Prince Andrew's arrest, on suspicion of the same offense, which is misconduct in public office. Misconduct in public office. Misconduct in public office. If there's any administration or regime here in the United States that is deserving of misconduct in public office charges, that would be this lawless administration. Now, over in the UK, this carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Official guidance to British prosecutors say that the offense is committed when a public officer, such as an elected politician or a government official, willfully neglects to perform their duty or willfully misconducts themselves in a way that abuses the public trust. If we had that here, I don't know if maybe we don't. Someone, can a lawyer please check to see if we have that here? Because if we do, this administration, most of them would be behind bars right now. There is no, I don't know what you call it, no qualified immunity, I assume, in the UK, but all of a sudden we have that here. We have a president of the United States who is not accountable for anything, not held accountable for anything. Here's a report on Peter Mandelson from the BBC, I believe. Rolling.
Peter Mandelson has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. So, what does that mean? Well, the Crown Prosecution Service defines it as when someone holding public office willfully neglects to perform their duty and or willfully misconducts themselves to such a degree as to amount to an abuse of the public's trust in the office holder without reasonable excuse or justification. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested on suspicion of the same offence. We don't know what evidence the Met Police may have considered before making this arrest. Mandelson has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The latest files painted a picture of Epstein's reach in the highest circles of power, politics, and celebrity, and the two arrests in the wake of their release are a vivid example of that. Peter Mandelson features extensively in them, as photos in the files attest. Again, being included in the files is not evidence of any wrongdoing. But Mandelson was often photographed at Epstein's side in multiple locations over multiple years. Here, Mandelson is pictured on a yacht with Epstein and others. And here he is celebrating Epstein's 54th birthday. Now, this photo, also part of the files, shows how Mandelson was comfortable around Epstein, even when being photographed. Mandelson's association with Epstein was public knowledge, very public knowledge. But the files did shed new light on its nature. First off, its length. This is from 2009. Mandelson wrote to Epstein, "You're the only person who knows everything about me. Don't go away." To be more precise, the date is May 2009. This is while Epstein was still serving a sentence in Florida for procuring child prostitution. There are casual, jokey intimacies in the documents. This is 2.5 years later. Mandelson writing to Epstein, "You don't care about me anymore." Epstein replying, "Rubbish." Mandelson was happy to discuss politics too. In 2009, Mandelson's assistant emailed Epstein a government speech here before it was delivered. And this email was sent while Mandelson was Secretary of State for the Department of Business, Innovation and Skills. In 2010, as governments were struggling to deal with the financial crisis, there was this exchange. Epstein emails Mandelson, "Sources tell me a €500 billion bailout, almost complete." Mandelson says, "Should be announced tonight." Epstein asks, "Are you home?" Mandelson replies, "Just leaving number 10, will call."
Wow.
Again, we don't know what evidence the Met Police may have considered before making this arrest, and Mandelson has consistently denied any wrongdoing.
Okay, that report is from Sky News, not from the BBC, but that was a Sky News report, and a pretty extensive report. Now, listen, Keir Starmer was suffering some of the consequences as well, because Mandelson's relationship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein provoked a political crisis for Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Documents appears to show that in 2009, when Mr. Mandelson was a senior cabinet minister, he gave potentially confidential and market-sensitive information to Mr. Epstein. Mr. Epstein is
Yeah, I
not
saw it. I
excuse me,
pulled
Mr.
it up.
Mandelson
I
has not been
researched a
charged with
little.
crime yet. He resigned from the Labour Party on February 1st, the same day that it was revealed that the police were investigating him over accusations. He's not publicly commented since then. We shall see what more happens. But he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. I want to bring in now Jolly Good Ginger. He helms the Jolly Good Ginger show on YouTube channel, and is a Washington correspondent, the chief Washington correspondent for the Don Lemon Show. Hello, we're on the, I guess you could say, yeah, we're on the eve, Jolly, good evening to you, on the eve of the State of the Union. The state of our union is, I guess, you can get away with anything.
Right.
Is you can have connections to a pedo and still serve as president and in public office or in a diplomatic position, but consequences elsewhere, but no consequences for the people who have the most ties to Epstein.
Good evening, Don. So you hit the nail on the head. The state of...
Did we lose the Jolly? Can't hear Jolly.
Yeah, it looks like we lost him.
The situation here is, you look at what happened in South Korea.
Is he there? Or did he go away? Okay, Jolly went away. Anyway, we'll continue on. We'll get Jolly back in just a moment. But I want to. This is what
a lot going on, y'all.
News report. The New York Times report is Peter Mandelson arrested, and then we have this, which is just new from the New York Times, and that is, I think Jolly's back. Jolly, you there?
I don't know. I have no idea what happened. That was weird. But no, what I was saying is, you look at South Korea when their president tried to declare martial law and have an insurrection. He's now in prison for life, by the way. Life. You just brought up what's happening in the UK. They arrested Andrew, and they arrested Peter Mandelson. And they're going to investigate properly, and they're going to hold accountable the names that are appearing in these files. But in America, when our president tries to conduct an insurrection, we do nothing about it. Merrick Garland will forever go down in history as being spineless. The Democrats from 2021 to 2025 will go down in history as being spineless. He should have never, ever, ever been on a ballot in 2024 because he should have been in prison. But we don't have nearly the audacity or gall to imprison rich white men in this country because we still have the terms that rich white men built this country for rich white men. The rules only apply to you if you're poor or not white, but if you're poor and not white, you're double fucked. So the problem is in this country, we will put you in power once we find out you're corrupt. We will put you in power once we find out that you've cheated the system, as long as you have the money to buy your way around it or buy your way to the top. And until the people in America rise up and say no more will we allow this rich, corrupt billionaire class to continue, until that happens, I don't expect to see accountability.
Oh, wow.
Look, I don't think that you are wrong. Let's talk about accountability, okay? And we can talk about the people here. You can remind us, Jolly, of some of the people who have been in the Epstein files and associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And look, they're in the files. And that appears to be enough for people who are in the UK. Just open an investigation that you've had a relationship where you are that close to him. They're not saying what the evidence is. Some of these folks have not been charged. Well, he has not been charged officially with anything. The same thing happened with Prince Andrew, a former Prince Andrew, who wasn't officially charged, but they are investigating. They searched Mandelson's home. So you had Peter Mandelson. He stepped down from the Labor and House of Lords. He was arrested today in connection with the Epstein-related probe. Then you have the former Prince Andrew, who is a former UK trade envoy, reported, and this is from the New York Times, Andy, you can scroll through this, reported arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office tied to disclosures involving Epstein. Then you have Morgan McSweeney, who was the chief of staff to the UK Prime Minister, resigned following fallout connected to Epstein-related revelations. Now, this is just related revelations. You have Norway. Mona Jewel, Norway's ambassador to Jordan and Iraq, stepped down and was reported charged in connection with a corruption investigation linked to Epstein disclosure. And then you have the former Prime Minister Jagland from Norway, reported charge accusing Norway in relation to Epstein files investigation. You have Slovakia, National Security Advisor, former foreign minister, resigned after appearing in release files while denying wrongdoing. Jolly, what is wrong with us? And these people are not in the Epstein file as much as Donald Trump and what's his name, Howard Lutnick, who lied about his relationship to Donald Trump, well, probably that too, and Jeffrey Epstein, and was doing business with him. And this is after Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly after Jeffrey Epstein had been charged the first time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's actually quite embarrassing that we have a guy in the White House who is, I refuse to say he's in the files.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He is a co-sponsor of those files. He is a co-conspirator. Those are the Trump and Epstein files. To say that they're the Epstein files and he's in them, it's not properly identifying just how much he's in those files. Those are the Trump-Epstein files. Trump and him were in cahoots. They were best friends. That was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. And they did these things together. And when you look at, it's kind of scary, Don, when you look at how many people that they had connections to. They were texting people, Jeffrey Epstein texting people during congressional hearings, world leaders making lunch dates with him and want to go to his island, and the amount of people he had influence and I dare say blackmail over. Because what's in those files is enough to blackmail any world leader. And so you have this, the conspiracy theorists got it right. You have this secret cabal of billionaires running the world and trafficking children. The only thing is, the people that were pointing the fingers at the other side of the aisle were the ones doing it. And it was Donald Trump, and it was Howard Lutnick, and it was all these people that you just mentioned. Listen, where there's smoke, there's surely fire. And there's a lot of smoke here. And I was on a program the other day. Now, granted, it was a hyper-conservative program ran by the Daily Wire, and they kept saying, well, you can't say Trump did this and that. Where's your evidence? And we kept pointing out the million mentions in the Epstein files, all of the accusers in the Epstein files. And the response they give is, well, it hasn't been proven. Right. So properly investigate it.
That's the thing. And Donald Trump, look, you said that they had been trafficking. They're not accused of trafficking in the files. Their names are mentioned in the file, meaning Lutnick and Trump. But look, you're right about that. When Donald Trump, look, here's Donald Trump. I want to play this. This was him on Air Force One. I believe it was last week. Well, I think it was Air Force One. Go ahead.
I got a question about some of the big overseas studies of former Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame.
Pause. Okay, so he has not been totally exonerated, and the only way that you can be totally exonerated is if there is a total investigation. And so if you want to really say that you have been totally exonerated, that would mean that you would be opened up to an investigation, you would have to answer questions, you would have to turn over discovery and information and your devices, all of those things. Am I wrong, Jolly? And
no, you're 100% right. Don, if you or I'll speak for myself, if I had a bunch of people pointing at me saying that I was doing these things they're accusing Donald Trump of, that I had the power and the money and the position, I would say, hey, stop. Let's investigate this fully. I want to clear my name. Release these files. Only make sure we're only protecting the survivors and nobody else. I want to provide full cooperation with the United States government. I want a full-blown investigation ran. I want everybody's name in these files brought in. I want witnesses before, not Congress, the FBI. But, you can't do that because our FBI is corrupt. But let's pretend like they weren't. I would want a full-blown investigation done by the proper authorities who are trained to investigate these types of crimes. I would want my name cleared immediately. I would not do the things that he has done, which is bully Republican Congress members to vote no to their release, to delay the release as much as possible, to have his own DOJ and FBI corrupt the files and break the rules of redaction and break the rules of the Epstein Transparency Act passed by Congress. He has done everything within his power to do the opposite of what anybody
Everything
who had
about him
nothing
is the
to hide
opposite.
would do. So when you say you're exonerated, not only, like you said, Don, did the files not exonerate him, his actions definitely do not exonerate him.
Now, I want to adjust this, Andy, on some of them. These are the folks in the United States who have faced some sort of consequences. You had Peter Attia, a longevity influencer, resigned from his position as a chief contributor to CBS News on February 23rd after backlash over revelations of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He had previously stepped down from his position as chief science officer for David, a protein bar company. Documents showed that Dr. Attia spent part of the 2010s in close contact with Mr. Epstein, making visits, sharing medical advice, and exchanging crude emails about women. And then you have Thomas J. Pritzker. He stepped down as the executive chairman of Hyatt. That was in 2026 this year, citing terrible judgment regarding his Epstein ties. And then you have Kathy Rumler, resigned as Goldman Sachs top lawyer, general counsel, announced this year after Epstein-linked communications that she was resigning, after Epstein-linked communications became public. And then you have Brad Karp, resigned as a chairman of Paul Weiss this year as well, after Epstein-linked emails became public. But what about Donald Trump?
Right.
And all of his connections in the Epstein
Absolutely.
files and all of his mentions. They didn't say anything about these people being found guilty of anything. They're saying they had to step down because of their relationship. Leon Black, in early 2021, Mr. Black stepped down from all of his leadership roles at Apollo Global Management, the private equity firm that he co-founded, because of his close business and social ties to Mr. Epstein. Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump, Mr. Black paid Mr. Epstein $170 million for tax and estate advisory work. Mr. Black also agreed to step down as chairman of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. This is some bullshit.
Well, listen, first of all, resigning, that's great. I want to see accountability. I want to see an investigation into each one of these
I want to
individuals,
see him
how
locked
close their
up.
ties were, and if they're responsible in any way for any of the criminal activity he did, and I want their ass in prison.
I agree with you. I will start, though, with resigning. I'll start there.
No, agreed. What I'm saying, though, is when I hear Pam Bondi talk, and when I hear Kash Patel talk between illegally using taxpayer funds to go to Italy and party with the men's hockey team, when I hear him talk, they're not investigating. In fact, Pam Bondi said the investigations were concluded. So we know there's no investigations happening into any of these people who are resigning for a reason. They're resigning because they know what they did. We may not know the full extent of what they did yet, but they know the full extent of what they did. And can I just add one thing on top of that, Don? Because you said why. Why not Donald Trump? And the truth is, it's not Donald Trump because he's in the office of the presidency, and the spineless Supreme Court gave him immunity, so everybody's afraid to pursue any criminal charges against him or investigations against him while he's president. But I want to point out that the people that put him in office are the same group of people who believed a long string of asinine conspiracy theories started by this group called QAnon with little to no evidence. They believed some of the craziest things you've ever heard of with zero evidence, just some random person on the internet saying it's true. But when presented with thousands upon hundreds of thousands of mentions of their guy in a file by one of the most prolific child sex traffickers in the world's history, they refuse to believe it's possible and vote him into office. So you ask why he's not held accountable? I blame 33%.
Thank you, Ms. Tom.
Well, 33% of the electorate. I always want to get those numbers right because that's not the entire country. But
oh, it's 33% of the country, Don.
32% of the electorate.
Electorate, right? Yeah, not including kids. I'm talking about adults.
Yeah, we're talking about people who vote. This is like people who are on the voting rolls and people who they polled, but 33% of the electorate. But listen, this is. Can you back up, Andy? I just want to say this is some of the people even in academia, right, that have been. There we go. This is Dr. Letty Moss Salinchigen. Columbia University said it was stripping Dr. Moss of her title as vice dean at the dental college after documents disclosed she helped develop a personalized plan of study for Mr. Epstein's girlfriend. She remains a tenured faculty member at the college. Okay, problematic for her. Keep going, Andy, rolling. Magnani, Dr. Thomas Magnani, lost his position. Columbia University cut all ties with Dr. Magnani, formerly Mr. Epstein's dentist, after documents revealed he was the point person to secure Mr. Epstein's girlfriend admissions to college dental medicine. Okay, keep going. Now, how did, according to Michael Wolff, how did Melania and Trump meet? According to Michael Wolff, it was somehow through Jeffrey Epstein. What was
And
that
Jeffrey
association?
had
Why
her
is that not
2
being
years before he
investigated?
knocked her down
Because again,
for
these are
2 years.
just associations with him.
And then
Dr.
sold-
Ross resigned from his position. Mr. Ross, a longtime
Sold her
visionary
to Trump.
in the contemporary art world and the former leader of some of the top museums in the United States, resigned from his position as department chair at the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan after emails he sent to Mr. Epstein were made public, revealing a friendship that spanned decades. That's Trump. I mean,
Yes.
it's not, I don't know if there are any
You're right.
emails, but the evidence of Trump is the video evidence. Donald Trump, you can see them talking to each other. Epstein said that they were best friends.
Yep.
This is crazy.
Listen, how many people, when we look back, because I don't know if you guys have been watching these videos as they pop up across social media, but how many people, as we look back across the previous decades, brought this up way before it was this conversation? They brought up that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were doing nefarious things, that Jeffrey Epstein was doing some sick shit with children. It was Robin Williams in a stand-up bit said Donald Trump owning the
Thank you,
Miss
Munchie.
USA pageant is like Michael Vick owning a pet shop or something like that. Like, these things have been talked about for decades. Everybody knew what they were. Listen to the people you just listed off and how many people are resigning. They all knew something. This was all happening for quite some time with very powerful people, and nobody spoke up, nobody said anything, nobody blew the lid off this thing, nobody stood up for these children, it's disgusting.
Horrible.
And then when you look at the people that are getting caught right now with, child material on their computers and out trying to meet children, it's a bunch of Republican voters or Republican elected officials. Like, this shit runs deep, and it's disgusting. And you're right, Don. We're the only country not doing shit about it.
Nothing about it.
Nothing.
We have much more. We're here with, you're watching the Don Lemon Show. We're here with Jolly Good Ginger, our chief Washington correspondent. He's actually on his way. He's on his way to D.C. He's going to cover that State of the Union. We're going to be back with Jolly and more. First of all,
and I'm not driving, I'm riding.
Okay.
Hi, Walter.
Riding dirty. Word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Now, let me tell you something. Public Wi-Fi makes me really nervous. Airports, hotels, coffee shops. Andy, if you can find that, you can put that up in just a little bit. Just go back to our show. But look at that. And you'll get alerts if you're a global leader in women's reproductive health care. They operate across Africa and Asia, serving women who often isn't safe. I as an informed. MSIUnitedStates.org. Text LEMON to 511-511 or go online to MSIUnitedStates.org to donate today. It's not nearly the way it is here.
No. I seen the pictures out of New York. I was surprised. When I heard New York's taking a snow day, I knew you guys were getting hit pretty hard. And but no, here we got around 3 o'clock yesterday, it started snowing. About maybe an inch of it stuck, and by this morning, most, if not all of it, was gone in most places. So pretty clear here. Windy, a little chilly, but
look at
things
your
go on.
Nothing like this?
Nothing like that.
That was this morning.
It's hard to believe that's New York.
Yeah, the snow just stopped here a little bit. That is New York. I know. I don't know if you saw the live stream this morning, our show this morning, of me trudging through the streets of New York. Andy, if you can find that, you can put that up in just a little bit. Just go back to our show. But look at that. And mounds of snow. We had just gotten rid of the snow from the last snowstorm because it wouldn't melt. The temperatures never got above freezing. So that snow had not melted, but it started to rain this weekend, and so some of that snow started melting away or going away. And then now we've got other mounds of snow here. So I say all that to talk about the State of the Union, because a lot of people will be
Peter
coming from places
Attia
like I am,
resigned
trying to
from
get there. Wednesday is
CBS
going to be as
News
big a snow day,
following
we were told, as it
Epstein
was
backlash.
yesterday and today. So, and Thursday. So I don't know if I would even be able to get back. But let's preview the State of the Union. The state of our union is fucked up. That's the state of our union. What do you expect?
Not only is it fucked up, it is going to get worse before it gets better, and in fact, it won't get better unless
he resigned.
Have had enough with it. I'll be honest with you, Don. I don't feel like America's angry enough, because I feel like if we were angry enough, maybe we would, because I've spent the last month or so in Minneapolis. I spent a couple months in D.C. when ICE was there during the federal occupation there. I went to Chicago when
Kimberly.
ICE occupied there. People are angry, and people are standing up, and
He
the resistance
is
is
celebrity
doctor.
doctor.
I love the communities.
Oh, he's the celebrity doctor.
And the community that Minneapolis is building, I swear to God, if we could get America to be Minneapolis, we'd be a lot better off. But I don't think people are angry enough, and it's going to get worse. This guy has plans to rig the 2026 election.
Yeah.
When he gets on tomorrow and gives his State of the Union speech, it's going to be a bunch of lies and gaslighting.
But Jolly, hold that lies and gaslighting, what he's going to do tomorrow. But when you say to rig the election, he's saying it. They are saying it openly. Kristi Noem is saying we want the right people voting for the right legislator. Like, what does that mean? They're saying Steve Bannon, and they're saying they're going to have people ICE outside of polling places. And I guess Kristi Noem is saying something similar. And then the President Trump is also conveying a similar sentiment, saying that it is a rigged election, going into Fulton County and raiding the place, and then asking for them to find some sort of information that is not even true. They're not even hiding it. He's not hiding it.
Nope, not even hiding. And listen, this is the same thing he did in 2020, led up to the 2020 election. He started off early saying, Democrats are trying to rig it. We got to stop all the rigged elections. We got to stop all the illegal voting. We got to stop it all before it happens, or they'll steal it from us. And the reason he's doing that, because if he does lose, he's going to immediately say, "See, I told you it was rigged." He did it before.
He did it before.
This guy's not unique. He doesn't have a trick up his sleeve, and we better start believing him when he says it. And if you haven't, let me say this to the audience: if you have not been in a city where ICE has surged, or ICE is conducting operations, then you don't understand how important it is when they say they're going to have ICE at polling stations. I've heard people say there's not enough ICE agents to be at all the polling stations. I've heard people say
they're hiring
ICE as at a polling station if I'm a legal voter. Let me explain to you what happens in cities where ICE shows up. People are scared to leave their house.
They're not going to leave. They're not going to vote.
The streets get empty. Where there normally are lively, bustling markets will become ghost towns. They don't care if you're legal, illegal, or an American citizen. ICE can detain you at will because they've been told they have absolute immunity. And they don't need to have ICE necessarily at every polling station. The only thing they need is an ICE presence in a blue city enough to terrorize the population, to interrupt the voting, to provide voter intimidation, to provide intimidation of the populace. And this could be enough to literally ruin the election in that city. And then after the fact, when we cry foul, they're going to say, oh, well, the election's over. So we need to pay attention to what they're saying, because this is huge.
It is huge. And again, they are not hiding it. They're going to try to do anything because they know, Jolly, as you know. Now, I had someone on last week who was an expert in election integrity, and I said, well, if come November 2026 for the midterms, if the Democrats win the House, the Republicans lose the House, the Senate, that's in question. But if they lose the House, that Donald Trump is essentially a lame duck president. She said he can still do a lot of harm, even as a figurehead. But I think it's over for them, and they know it, because impeachment procedures are going to start, investigations are going to start, people are going to demand accountability, and their agenda is going to be stalled until they are out of office. And you could see some of these people
Thank you,
starting
Kimberly.
as the beginning of 2027.
Thank you for
to
the
start to be
hearts and the
investigated and
flowers.
to have some accountability.
No, I agree, and I think that going back to 2021 when the Democrats did not hold accountable all the people responsible for January 6th, there's a lot of people who are worried about when Democrats take power, is there going to be accountability? I think there will be. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of 2021 where the Democrats kind of dropped the ball. I think that the Democrats understand we're demanding accountability. I also think that when the Republicans get their ass whooped in a free and fair midterm, if there's a free and fair midterm election, Republicans lose en masse. I think the remaining Republicans are going to see the writing on the wall, and they're going to stop protecting him. I think there will be impeachment. I think there will be investigations. I think there will be congressional subpoenas, and I think there will be accountability, and that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah. Now, Jolly, I don't know if you've seen this, and I want you to listen with fresh eyes. Perhaps you've seen it. I don't know. I'm not even going to ask, but I want you to watch this. It's a little bit long, and I want you to tell me what on earth is going on here. Now, you remember the whole talk about Biden, right?
Yes.
Biden, oh my gosh, he's, Lord, he's, out of it. He's, let's write some books, articles, everything. Let's just talk about it. Watch this.
Why would we do this? And they walk in, nobody even asks for, do you have an identification? Do you have an ID? It's so crazy. The mayor of New York, and he's a very nice person. I met him, but his ideology is not too good. But we're having a massive snowstorm right now, and I heard that he's asked people to come out and help shovel the snow. Okay, so you get a shovel and you start shoveling, right? What the hell? You're not going to help too much, but you can help. And hello, darling, how are you? No, right behind you. Look, my friend, right? Are you okay? Yes, you. Are you okay? Are you okay? Good. Good. Are your eyes okay? I gave her money to get her eyes fixed. A lot of money to get her eyes fixed. That doctor ripped me off, but that's okay.
A lot of money for what?
And when do you go?
He gave a lot of money for what?
Help shovel the snow. Okay, so you get a shovel and you start shoveling, right? What the hell? You're not going to help too much, but you can help. And hello, darling, how are you? No, right behind you. Look, my friend, right? Are you okay? Yes, you. Are you okay? Are you okay?
My friend.
Good. Good. Are your eyes okay? I gave her money to get her eyes fixed. A lot of money to get her eyes fixed. That doctor ripped me off, but that's okay. And when do you go? Well, you get them done. It's an operation, but it's 100%. It's great. Good. And you're going to have 20/20 vision. She's almost blind, cataracts. She's almost blind.
Oh my God.
And with one operation that'll take a very short period of time. Hope you have a good doctor. He's an expensive doctor, top of the line, right? But you know what? You're going to have 20/20 vision. Because I noticed you're wearing glasses. I saw you yesterday on television wearing glasses, and I said, wow. But anyway, speaking of your family, it would be a lot different right now, except for the election. So I always say, it's too bad.
What the fuck just happened, dude?
I mean, Jolly.
Whoa.
Come on, bruh.
Your president.
Whoa. I mean, I always... Okay, have you seen the movie Up? I think it was Up, and I'm bad at quoting movies, but there's this one movie where the dog, he'll be doing something, but then he sees a squirrel, and he goes, squirrel, and he's distracted. That's what it reminds me of. Like, this guy, every time he talks, he's like a fucking child. Like, just super low IQ. And I believe some of this might be, showing his age. I mean, is this like dementia signs? I don't know. He's just rambling incoherently in front of a room, and they let him do it, and everybody entertains it. I'm like, Grandpa, needs to have his driver's license taken away. Somebody take the keys to his car. Like we're
They
at
say that
point.
may not be
And-
him.
But if Joe Biden did something a third of that, guess what?
Can you
It would be
imagine?
ready to 25th Amendment.
HIPAA violation, yeah.
Ready to throw him out.
Yeah, they say he ain't
Oh, you know, like, oh my God, sorry.
Yeah, he may have been replaced like they did Biden, and we don't know it
talk to you
yet.
about your eyes after this, but thank you, so I'm going to get back to this. I'll see you soon. And then you talk, you know what I'm saying? But here's a whole conversation. Or you tell someone on the staff, from your staff, go get that person after the speech and say, I saw her in the crowd when I was speaking, and I would like to ask her and find out about
right.
her
And
eyes.
you also wouldn't put her medical information on blast in front of the world.
Right.
Like,
I was like,
she's-
why is he doing that?
Yeah, dude, how fucking disrespectful. Hey, by the way, guys, she's minding her business, but I need to tell you her medical history. She's almost blind.
Right.
I'm paying. And why the fuck he's paying to have her eyes fixed? No idea there, but
Right.
I'm paying to have her eyes fixed.
And
Clearly
he
it hasn't
don't
happened yet. She's wearing glasses, but what the fuck are we talking about? Bro, that's some weird shit, Don.
That's
some
weird.
weird.
It looks like you're in a tunnel. Perfect time, Jolly, for us to get a word in from our sponsor. Support comes from Shopify. Now, when I launched it down,
Is near record lows overall, and the lowest he's ever been.
the State of the Union.
Leaving work right now, and the streets are full with cars and people, and
Yeah, that you were
Listen.
a blue-eyed devil.
I just got into D.C. Crowds are full. I mean, the streets are full. It looks like, operations as normal here. So, should
Streets
be
are
an
full and there are
interesting
crowds?
next 24 hours.
Are you serious?
There's just like, business.
I
as
wouldn't
usual.
go.
People are leaving work
Fuck
right
him.
now, and the streets are full with cars and
Like
people
he
and,
did those kids.
normal everyday operations. So the snow didn't slow anything down here.
Okay.
State
so
of the
back to
Union
your-
will continue, as well as the after events. Don, if you don't know about the after events, people need to go to the after events.
Or if you can put
Either
me in a
one
car,
else
just get me
he
down
will.
there fast.
So that he
Okay,
called
so listen,
into television
then let's talk
pretending.
about
Oh yeah, I
this.
saw
Let's
that.
put up the
It
Washington
was
Post.
old though. I thought.
The Washington Post is showing that Trump faces a 60% disapproval before the State of the Union.
I thought it was something he
The
did
USA
a few
Today
years ago.
shows that Trump is facing a 60% disapproval before the State of the Union. Donald Trump is calling the polls. Well, let's play. This is Harry Enton on CNN talking about Trump's horrendous poll numbers for independents. Here it is.
Numbers, but talk about what is driving this drop for the president.
What is driving this drop? I said record was the name of the game when it came to this segment, right? Talking about the lowest Trump has ever been going into the State of the Union, the lowest that any president has been this century going into a State of the Union at this point in their presidency. It is also the weakest that Donald Trump has ever been with independents. Look at this drop. We've been talking about it the past few months. At this point, a year ago, Donald Trump was at minus 13 points. Look at this. Minus 47 points among independents, the lowest Donald Trump has ever been in either of his two terms as president with independents. That is driving these numbers. When you're 47 points underwater with independents, that's the name of the game. You can't be above water overall, and that is why Donald Trump is near record lows overall and the lowest he's ever been going into a State of the Union address.
Wow. By the way, subscribe on Twitch and Substack. You can subscribe on Twitch and Substack. If you are subscribed to us on YouTube, go over to the Twitch, go over to the Substack and subscribe there as well. You can be a free subscriber or you can pay. Either one. We would prefer the paid. That helps us. Jolly, tell them. That helps us out here on these streets.
Yes, it does.
It does, I know.
Independent media, to take a quick 30-second independent media break, independent media is the most important thing happening right now. A lot of people, when I was in Minneapolis, Minneapolis residents came up to me, hey, Jolly, really, I really appreciate you being here and filming what's happening here and showing the world, because I fear if you didn't do that, nobody would have known what was happening here. And the truth is, they wouldn't have known, because I looked around as I was in the early stages of what was happening in Minneapolis, posting those things. Legacy media was quiet. But without you guys supporting us, we can't do what we do. It's impossible to do what we do, so appreciate the support. As far as the poll numbers...
Wait, hold on. I want to say something about that, too.
Yes.
And Jolly, think about the folks who are actually putting themselves and their businesses and their livelihoods and their freedom on the line by covering that. And that's the independent journalist. And we don't have a huge corporation around us with billions of dollars to take care of legal fees and all of those things. So we are the ones who are putting ourselves out there with fewer resources than the mainstream media, and we're taking more risks than they are.
And
they are risk averse.
And paying out of our pocket, because like you said, we don't have corporations to send us on, with work cards and travel cards. It's out of our pocket. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jolly. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
So
but you're talking about
we
the poll
appreciate your
numbers.
support. So thank you for your generosity. Go ahead.
The poll numbers are important because if you look at all the polls across the board, Donald Trump is not popular. And this is very, 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 very important because what a key message of his administration is that they have a mandate from the American people to do what they're doing because the American people voted him in mass. He's the most popular president. He won the popular vote. You're not popular, and your policies are not popular. A recent poll came out, Don. 65% of Americans do not approve of the actions ICE are currently taking, the tactics ICE are currently employing. 65% of Americans. Then when you turn around and look at his poll numbers, 60% of Americans disapprove of him altogether. Those numbers correlate pretty closely because as it turns out, when you deploy a private military into the streets to violate the constitutional rights of both American citizens and the immigrant community, as well as uproot our neighbors and then just toss the judicial system out the window, Americans en masse will disapprove of that. And that's the true state of our union.
That's the state of the union.
Yep, the State of the Union is literally an autocratic takeover by a wannabe dictator who's doing all of this to hide the fact that he is a pedophile in the Epstein files.
You think you're saying
allegedly, for Don's sake.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
For Don's
Look,
sake.
I'm already in the middle of it, allegedly.
Yeah, sue me, fuck you. But for Don's sake, allegedly.
What'd you say? F who?
I said, fuck them, they can sue me, but for Don's sake, allegedly.
Donald Trump says the polls are fake. Here it is.
And I had to go through, and I still do, fake stories, fake polls. I had polls for the election.
And he's the fakest.
I was going to get swamped, and I won in a landslide. They were fake polls because polls are tough. When you get a fake poll, I get them today. I saw one today that I'm at 40%. 40%. I'm not at 40%. I'm at much higher than that. I mean, I'd love to run against anybody. The real polls say you kill everybody. It wouldn't even be close. But you go through the fake polls, you go through the fake stories. And I said, it was good because this is really a much more powerful term than I would have had if I had run because it was just one of those things. There would be nothing to compare it to.
So what is he? Fake polls. The polls are only fake when he doesn't like them.
Correct.
Right?
We've seen this before. Same old song and dance, right? And when he says, well, you look at the real polls, are the real polls in the room with us? Can you show them? Are you allowed to point them out? The only time we've ever seen numbers that match what he agrees with is when he takes the real poll and then draws on it with a Sharpie. And then pretends like we can't see the Sharpie. Like, these are real polls. And by the way, Don, you're out here talking to people on the street. You do independent media from the street. I do independent media from the street. It is not hard to believe these polls when you get out on the streets and you talk to people. The message I'm hearing from people matches the poll.
I said it this morning, Jolly. We're talking. We're on the same. We didn't even talk to each other about this. I said the exact same thing this morning on the 10 a.m. show. I said Donald Trump is out of it because I'm out there talking to people almost every single day, and they tell me, even Republicans, people who voted for him, are saying now, I regret this. I don't like what's happening in this country. I can't support this man, especially after Minneapolis and just after just him and so many lies. They don't like it. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you were preaching to the same folks.
No, cut me off all day because I like when message is aligned because it approves what we're saying. Like you said, we didn't discuss that, but we both came to the same conclusion by talking to people on the street. And I gotta run, Don, because I gotta go to this pre-State of the Union event. But I want to close out on this. I appreciate that you are and many people like you are already calling the lies out before we hear them because we know what's coming. We know what tomorrow is going to look like. Listen, guys, I'm going to watch the State of the Union so you don't have to. But we already know what's coming. And we need to understand that this is nothing new. It's the same old song and dance. And the goal right now is 2026 midterms. So we need to buckle in and be ready to stop the corruption that's actively in place.
I feel you, Jolly Good Ginger. Handle your business, my brother. The chief Washington correspondent for the Don Lemon Show is Jolly Good Ginger. Make sure you do the Jolly Good Ginger Show on YouTube as well and follow him on all the socials.
I thought I was the only one that
Ginger
says
and I, Jolly and I
draw
are giving
his charts with a
some
Sharpie.
facts on some things, okay? And but Maria Bartiromo is saying that it's not me, but others. I think she's talking about Democrats. She said that Democrats are just jealous of the president. Watch.
It's incredible to me that it appears to be that the
I'm not
Democrats are
watching
so
either.
angry about President
Thank
Trump's
you, Miss
success.
I'm not watching
He's been
either.
so
Thank
successful
you.
on so many
I'ma
levels
watch,
and has done things so fast that
I'ma
now
watch
the
the
Democrats are
boycott.
boycotting, some of them are boycotting the State of the Union. Adam Schiff, Mr. Russia collusion himself, said he's not going to show up to the State of the Union tomorrow night, Congressman. We'll be watching
He
that
don't
one.
care about the
Good to
U.S.
see you, sir. Thank you. Congressman Buddy Carter this morning in Georgia. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Done a fool.
I mean, if you're a glazer in the dictionary, you would have Maria Bartiromo. People are saying, what success? What the hell is she talking about? Has she seen the poll numbers? Has she spoken to people people who are outside of her bubble? She is out of her mind. Out of her mind. But, I mean, it's not surprising. It's not surprising.
Not at all.
Live in their bubbles. And
Y'all, I need for y'all to hit the like
they
button.
only want people who speak what they want.
Yeah, I don't speak what they want. I want the remaining of the Epstein files. I want him to be arrested, detained, taken in for questioning. Yeah. But, if that happens, it will be nothing but lies. And they would say, oh, we didn't find anything. So, and that would further, humiliate the survivors. I get it. I'm just telling you what I would want. Hold on. That's what I would want. But I want it done right. I don't want it to have to be done. And I don't want a mockery made of it. Now that I don't want. So, however we can get it, we'll get it. But I definitely don't want a whole show made out of it and him being released and, Nope. I want it to be done right, and I want justice. I want full justice. I want lifetime justice. Thank you. Thank you, lady. Thank you, everybody who helped me reach my goal. I'm an hour and 22 minutes in. Yeah, with only wee. What are they talking about? Claim. Newsom, hold on. It's just so much going on.
Transcript. That's not even a thing.
Hold on. The day before the storm. Yeah, it's gonna be a storm. Hold on, yeah, I'm trying to get to where I'm trying to go. It's just so much going on right now. It's a nuisance.
Most important priorities. Anyway,
it reads much more eloquently than this.
Is, in my view, a gross imposition. It is also counterproductive because if we launch criminal contempt proceedings, I think my colleague Mr. Biggs pointed out that we want the Clintons to testify. If we launch criminal contempt proceedings, we will not hear from the Clintons. That is a fact. They will be tied up in court. We have no guarantee that they will ever testify before this committee. Civil enforcement will achieve the goal we want of getting the Clintons out here before this committee. Now, I just think this is problematic. We talked earlier, Mr. Comer, and I still have not heard you to this point in time say anything about the Clintons defying the subpoena. I've heard you say 2015.
To everyone who values tradition, what does tradition mean to you?
At Culver's, we hand batter our fish.
You're off the hook. In fact, Comer and his committee doesn't even care about the man who started this hellscape. They don't even show up for his deposition. That tells you how hypocritical and how morally bankrupt on this Epstein issue they are. All across the world, gravity still holds, moral gravity still holds in government. You know, J.D. Vance always looking down the end of his little nose at Europe. Well, at least they have shame in Europe. If somebody was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, there are consequences. No consequences here.
Nope.
And again, I keep saying it, Republicans are too stupid to listen to me because they've always been too stupid to do what's in their best interest. This is your own base you're screwing. This is your own base you're ignoring. This is your own base that you're saying, hey, don't trust anything we Republicans say. You're doing that to yourself. And all the money and all the campaign stops.
Duty to refuse illegal orders. The New York Times cites 6 people familiar with the matter who say federal prosecutors were genial when they first reached out about the case, saying the inquiry was in its early stages and not identifying a specific law that had been broken. Less than 2 weeks later, the Times writes, everything changed. Quote, for reasons that remain unclear, Jeanine Pirro abruptly instructed her team to seek an indictment of the lawmakers. The prosecutors then faced the decision that many in the department under President Trump have confronted. Comply or resist. They chose the first. That effort, of course, failed last week. As the Times reports, Pirro now has backed away from the case. It's part of a pattern of prosecutors pursuing weak or questionable cases against the president's perceived political foes. Cases often met with resistance and ultimately failure. Last summer, for example, grand jurors in Washington rejected 3 separate...
Brush their teeth and think about how to defeat Donald Trump.
Y'all need for y'all to hit the like
Democratic
button.
attorneys general who are in court every day against Donald Trump, led by people like Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, will be at rapt attention during the State of the Union address in order to plan their next step to defeat Donald Trump, delay, to defeat, to hinder in the courtrooms based on information that he will happily and ignorantly provide to them during the State of the Union address. Many of the things that Donald Trump is going to say tomorrow, that's why I'm going to be listening closely, not because I want to give him ratings or attention, but because I want to see what new evidence coming out of his mouth is going to be used in video clips and in submissions to federal courts. And I know the attorneys general are going to do the exact same thing. I have the honor of interviewing 4 more of our Democratic attorneys general, including Letitia James of the New York Attorney General office. And who knows better on how to defeat Donald Trump than Tish James?
Absolutely.
She
Now,
not
she
only
got
brought
him
him
down
down
pat.
and brought him low, having
I wish she'll figure out a way that we can get his ass
civil fraud
locked
case
up
against Donald Trump and his children that is still up on appeal, and that that is so bad, the persistent fraud that she brought these claims under, that there's still a former federal judge that's monitoring all things Trump Organization. She's also been on the receiving end of the retribution and the vindictiveness of Donald Trump. In particular, he's still trying to get her indicted for some sort of made-up, manufactured, fabricated mortgage fraud case.
Because he's sick.
Yet,
Because that's
today,
what they got
she
his butt
and the other
on.
Democratic attorneys general get up, take their head off their pillow, brush their teeth, and think about how to defeat Donald Trump. And they're winning more than 80% of the time in more than 80 cases against the Trump administration. And I had that honor to take that briefing from them for you. And here's a clip.
I'm Michael Popak, and you're on a special edition of
Thank
Legal
you, Michael
AF.
Popak.
We're at the Democratic Attorneys General Conference in San Francisco. And our first panel, we've got, starting from my left, California's Attorney General Rob Bonta, New York's Attorney General Letitia James, Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel, and from Wisconsin, the Attorney General Josh Kaul. Thank you all for being here and briefing our audience. The one thing that they are particularly concerned about is their voting rights and what is going to be done to protect their vote from an administration and from a president who has said out loud that he wants to federalize, take over the voting rights and regulations. He's working the halls of Congress to try to get senators to agree on eliminating mail-in balloting. He wants to dictate the place, time, and manner of voting in your states. And there's a firewall between that takeover and Donald Trump, and that is the attorneys general in each of the states. So let's start it off with Attorney General Bonta. What would you like to tell our audience about what your state, and along in collaboration with your fellow attorneys general, what you're doing to protect their vote?
Thanks, Michael. Good to see you again. I'll first say, I know you're concerned about your voting rights. We're concerned about your voting rights, and we're doing everything in our power to protect and defend them. The fundamental right to vote is the right from which all other rights flow, and it's fundamental to our nation, our democracy, our Constitution, and it is definitely under threat. I will say that as Trump gets more desperate, as he sees himself tanking in the polls, as he sees the polls regarding the midterms likely outcome, and that's going to go Democratic, he gets increasingly more desperate. And a president who's desperate and who lives in conspiracy theories and is in the fields about losing the 2020 election and can't acknowledge it, and has different figments of his imagination that he feels he's victimized and aggrieved by, it could lead to actions, some of which we're seeing. We're seeing the seizure of voting materials and equipment in Fulton County. We're seeing the president talk on a podcast about the Republicans nationalizing the elections, even though there's an elections clause in the U.S. Constitution that says the time, place, and manner of elections shall be determined by the states through their legislatures. Congress has a role to play, but the executive branch, through executive fiat, does not. He tried that with an executive order that we blocked, attempting to require a proof of citizenship requirement through executive order, as well as not have ballots counted that were timely cast by mail but received after Election Day. And we've been successful in court. He tried to get voting roll information for California, which we fought back against and were successful. So we've been fighting and winning so far, but we are clear-eyed and sober that there are more fights to have, especially as the midterms come closer. We've sort of gamed out all sorts of different potential threats from.
That's what we want to hear.
This is scary stuff, but we have to think about it because we owe our constituents readiness, preparedness, a plan of action that we can implement quickly, and it could be federalized National Guard at or near polls. It could be the military, Marines at or near polls. It could be ICE at or near polling stations. There's a federal law that prevents military or armed personnel from being at polling stations, so we can move quickly in court to get an order to enforce that federal law. I'm worried about the fact that California is a universal vote by mail state. Many states are, and the U.S. Postal Service is a entity of the federal government. Could ballots be seized while on their way to the registrar of voters before they're counted?
Well, there's a new revelation about the Postal Service that they issued a regulation recently, or a clarification, that unless you get a stamp inside the post office. If you drop it in a mailbox, there's no guarantees it's going to be postmarked the day of the election. Right. And that was buried in some flyer, some circular about the post office. So yes, Trump is working behind the scenes. Let me bring into the conversation Attorney General James. We just got the revelation coming out of Fulton County. We've all seen now this affidavit that's been unsealed, where they got an FBI agent to speak to 12 election deniers, all of which have had their theories debunked by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, by the federal government, by independent auditors, and yet the missing 14,000 votes still shows up again and again in this person's affidavit that was presented to a magistrate judge. And we learn more now about Kurt Olson, this fringe. He's so fringe, I've said in my podcast, that even the A team of Team Crazy in the first go around with Donald Trump didn't accept him. And he's big on seizing voting machines. He's also apparently has the title of the director of election integrity for Donald Trump. He's been sanctioned multiple times, including in Arizona, for bringing up this election denying information that federal judges have rejected. And yet he was the person that got the search warrant up and running with the affidavit. Now that we see what they're doing, how are you prepared? On protecting the vote.
The right to vote is sacred. This is the SAVE Act that is currently before the United States Senate. It passed the Congress. It is in addition to, it goes beyond just time and place. It focuses on the type of identification individuals will have to present in person. It will have an impact, a significant impact on women and people of color. And it's really critically important that this administration is attempting to target those constituency in an attempt to suppress the vote. What are we doing? We collectively have been talking about this and discussing voter integrity for a very long time. That's why we are here at this conference, to discuss our strategy on how to respond to the threats to our right to vote. It's important that individuals understand that elections are not a federal issue. They're a state issue. The United States Constitution does not speak to federal involvement in our elections. It is states and localities. And that's why we are confident that if in fact the SAVE Act is enacted, if in fact there's an attempt by this president to invoke the Insurrection Act and or take over the responsibility of elections, we are prepared to respond. And we will respond united and in coalition with one another, protecting the most sacred right to vote.
I mean, there's a very good reason the Constitution doesn't give the federal side any role or the executive side any role. It's because our framers and founders did not trust in putting together our system of federalism, right? Did not trust the federal government to run its own elections. It wanted it to be with the states. That was one of the deals. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't know much about history. I wish he'd spend more time reading the Constitution than he does.
He doesn't respect our sovereignty.
Right.
He doesn't respect our sovereignty. And the reality is if you read the Constitution, there are some duties and responsibilities that fall upon states, and it's about cooperation. But unfortunately, he doesn't respect that, and particularly since he's losing. If you can't win, then you cheat or you just steal.
Right. And so battleground states are, of course,
Just
are important.
steal.
So let's talk about Michigan and Wisconsin. AG Nessel, what is important to your constituency when it comes to protecting their right to vote? And I'll frame it this way. Whenever we hear the other side talk
everything.
about vote integrity or protection, we know that means suppression.
Hell, and he may be one of them reptilians, them
voting fraud,
aliens disguised. I don't know what whatever they say Joe Biden is, that may be what Trump is right now.
But Donald Trump uses that and uses those stories in order to have to, let's get rid of mail-in balloting. It's so corrupt. Why isn't that part of the SAVE Act, the SAVE Act, and all that? So, from your perspective, what can our audience count on you to do related to their vote?
Well, I think they can count on me and the other Democratic AGs to do exactly what we did back in 2020 when we came really close to having the results of a free and fair election overturned. And I will tell you a few things from 2020 stick out of my mind. One was when we collectively had to sue the U.S. Postal Service for not delivering absentee ballots. And we were successful in getting a court order that said that those ballots that had been slowed down through intentional procedures by the U.S. Postal Service. I remember the day before the election actually.
Oh, thank you.
Taking the court order and going to distribution centers in Detroit and in Pontiac and, having to go in and point out there's an absentee ballot, there's an absentee ballot, there's an absentee ballot. Get that in your truck and go deliver them to the clerk's offices so that they can be counted. That's something that we had to do. People forget that we had Attorney General Ken Paxton try to decertify the elections in 4 states that Joe Biden won, including my state, that he won by 154,000 votes. It wasn't even close. Litigate that as well as multiple other issues in both state and federal courts. We won every single one. But we now see that Trump is bringing back the exact same debunked, ridiculous claims that were made in 2020, and he's bringing them back again, and we're trying to recirculate them, hoping, I guess, this time that Rudy Giuliani will magically get his bar license back and be able to present these arguments that, that he uniformly lost in all of our states where those challenges were made. But they can count on the fact that whatever happens, the Democratic AGs will be working tirelessly to counter those cases and to make sure that, again, we're winning in the courts.
And Attorney General Call, can we count on federal judges to do the right thing? We know that this group is going to run into court. They're going to run into the burning building and save the vote. Can we count on federal judges?
Well, I'm optimistic, and I'll tell you why. It's, as E.G. Nessel just talked about, in 2020, we saw this movie play out. We saw the president try to overturn the results of elections in Wisconsin, Michigan, and other states, and we beat him. Time and time again, we beat him, and his cases were thrown out of court. So the court stood up very well in 2020. Now, I know things are different now, so we're going to have different cases, different circumstances, but I'm optimistic about the courts. But I think what's important to note as we think about how we respond to this moment is what we're dealing with here. We have a president who fundamentally does not believe in free and fair elections. We all know that. We know what we're confronting, and we are prepared to go to court to fight back. What's also important, though, is that Congress not concentrate a bunch of power in the hands of that same president by passing the so-called Save America Act. What's also important is that we ensure that we don't have ICE agents or National Guard at polling places. We're ready to go to court, but it's also critical for Congress to step up. And what's important for your viewers to know is that for them to speak out now and have their voices heard, and then to ensure that they show up on Election Day, that is the best antidote to what we're facing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's continue with that same theme. We saw the affidavit that was prepared by the FBI agent, a dozen election deniers, including one that's within the government, obviously behind it. Did that shock you that they were so blatant, that the Trump administration is so blatant to put in front of a federal judge that as a probable cause that a crime was committed more than 5 years ago in Fulton County?
I think it's shocking, and I worry about what that means about what may happen in other states too, because just as the president has made outrageous and false claims about what happened in Georgia, he's made claims about Wisconsin and Michigan and other states, and so I think we need to be prepared. The good news is they have now shown their hand. We know that they are bringing nothing to court other than recycled garbage that they presented in 2020.
Right.
So the more that we talk about this, the more that people raise awareness about this, the better. And again, it's critical that people talk to Congress. They can't have this debate about the Save America Act in isolation from what's going on. This is at the time we have a president who's abusing his authority and his executive branch is abusing their authority to put power in his hands at this point in time
would be a colossal mistake. It's critical that Congress speaks out against this.
Yeah. Attorney General James, what have you learned, and in collaboration with your other attorney generals, in the last 60 or 70 cases that this group has had to file? What's the takeaway that informs you for this next round of litigation?
So let me just go back to the question that you asked, AG Cowell. We've been filing a number of cases on a wide range of issues, all of these executive orders which are illegal, unconstitutional, and do not have the force of law. And judges, we've been winning 80% of our cases. And it doesn't matter whether or not the judge was appointed by Obama, or whether or not in some cases the judges were appointed by Trump, in some cases they were appointed by Bush and Clinton. It really doesn't matter. The rule of the law is the rule of the law. They all respect the rule of the law. And that's why we've been winning 80% of our cases. Two, in regards to whether or not, you asked A.G. Cowell whether or not he was surprised by the evidence that they presented to the magistrate. I'm not surprised. These are the same individuals that said 2 individuals in Wisconsin were terrorists. Right. And then the videos came out. And in case after case, they are introducing evidence that sometimes is not factual and is inconsistent with the videos or the evidence that sometimes we hold.
Well, we have journalist Don Lemon, who just filed to get his grand jury transcripts because he said effectively the Department of Justice and the government cannot be trusted with the facts or the law. That They sent in a prosecutor, right, who, according to a judge, who violated the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment in making a presentation to a grand jury, and then took photos of somebody that they arrested in that protest in St. Paul, doctored the photo to make it look like she was in tears, and in other ways. So how can you trust them with the facts and the law?
So I'm not surprised. And then lastly, it's unfortunate that the president is weaponizing the federal government, and particularly DOJ. And it's unfortunate that Pam Bondi is of the belief that that the DOJ is the personal attorney to the President of the United States, as opposed to serving the interest of America and our country and the rule of law and democracy. That's what's really unfortunate. And it's unfortunate now that we no longer have a DOJ, and that now it's up to Democratic attorneys general who are standing up to ensure that we have liberties, we have freedoms, and that our democracy is in place, and that our systems and our institutions obviously are respected. And that's what we do, and that's why we're here. And that's why, obviously, we're in collaboration. Now more than ever, it is up to all of us and to our respecting our each individual sovereignty and each and every one of our constituents that we serve, that we are here to protect not only our state constitutions, but also the federal constitution. Now more than ever. It's just really up to us.
And A.G. Bonta, what's the takeaway from 70 or 80 cases and an 80% winning percentage? What's the takeaway? What have you learned about the Department of Justice? What have you learned about federal judges? What's the takeaway?
A few things. One, each of our states are very powerful in standing up for our constituents and the rule of law, the rights and freedoms. But when we band together, when we fight together, when we unite, we're unstoppable. And we've shown that with our 80% success rate. Has a lot of strategy behind it, sharing of information, expertise sharing among us. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of this coalition of now 24 Democratic attorneys general. Our North Star is the law and the facts. And we go into courtrooms, which are sanitized environments where politics should fall away before you enter the courtroom, and the law and the facts determine what happens next. And so we found that is true when we when we go to our sweet spot, which is
imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Presenting the facts and applying the law, we win nearly all of the time. And the judges, got to give it up to the courageous judges who are calling it like they see it, letting the chips fall where they may, looking at the law, looking at the facts, what they were.
Fulton County, Georgia looks like is a dress rehearsal. It may be a dress rehearsal for Donald Trump, using a bad faith FBI agent's affidavit to secure a bad faith search warrant to.
Welcome to the Court of History. My co-host, Sean Wilentz, and I are here now to resume our conversation with Fiona Hill. Fiona Hill is the former deputy assistant to President Trump and former senior director for European and Russian relations on the National
Y'all,
Security Council.
I need to pause so y'all to
She's a senior
hit
fellow at
reset.
Brookings
Okay.
Institution.
And hit the like button.
She has since 2023 served as chancellor of Durham University. She's the author of Mr. Putin, Operative in the Kremlin, and a memoir, There's Nothing for You Here, Finding Opportunity in the 21st Century. Welcome back to the Court of History, Fiona.
Thanks, Sydney.
Yes, so the Europeans have suffered whiplash in their...
Donald Trump may unfortunately be president, but that doesn't mean his legal troubles have entirely gone away. They're just mostly gone because SCOTUS decided he's an emperor rather than a president. And we do have additional layers of protection aside from just the SCOTUS. So Judge Eileen Cannon obviously inalterably changed the course of history by deciding that Donald Trump's crimes that he committed in full public view when he stole his classified documents just aren't worthy of actually looking into. And now she's decided, no, you're never gonna look into this thing.
Never.
You're never gonna see the documents that Jack Smith put together or the actual evidence ever if it's up to her. And we're gonna get into the supposed justification that she's provided for that. But first, I wanna play one of the reasons that there might be some concern about this stuff coming out. This is an excerpt from Jack Smith's testimony. Take a look.
What's the significance of moving all these boxes just before June 2nd of 2022?
Because Donald Trump was on notice that his attorney was going to search that room, search for classified documents in that room, and in between the time he was put on notice of that and the time that he actually did that, at Donald Trump's direction, 64 boxes were taken out, but only 30 were returned.
I mean, this is just what are we supposed to pretend that this is anything other than the most obvious criminality that we've ever seen? Well, I don't know, January 6th was pretty bad, but it's on the same level. It's S-tier criminality from Trump. Trump stole the documents knowing that he couldn't. He was told repeatedly, they went out of their way to go easy on him. Hey, come on, you got to give the documents back. And he's like, no, screw you. Then his lawyer's going to go search, so they obstruct justice on so many different levels to hide those documents. He should be behind bars for that right now. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, Biden had a few things or whatever that he was never approached about, and when he did, he gave them back. First of all, I don't care if Joe Biden goes to jail as well, but there is just nothing comparable between Donald Trump's theft of these documents and his efforts to evade justice on them and him showing them off, possibly selling them, that we have seen with literally anyone else. And Eileen Cannon has decided, no, the most important thing is protecting him, not the American people, not the fact that he's now in a position to once again steal documents, and he already has seen the legal precedent that there will be no consequences for it. No, the important thing is to protect Donald Trump. So let's get into an excerpt from her ruling. She said Special Counsel Smith and his team went ahead for months, undeterred, preparing the classified documents report using discovery collected in connection with this proceeding and expending government funds in the process. To say this chronology represents at a minimum a concerning breach of the spirit of the dismissal order is an understatement, if not an outright violation of it. So what does that mean? Basically, she was trying from when she was initially put in charge of this case to get rid of it no matter what. And that became very clear to Jack Smith and the other investigators. So what they decided to do was, maybe someday someone will do something about this. So although we're not going to be able to actually get him on this, we're going to actually gather the evidence. We want to know what happened. And so they decided to do that. And she is getting mad that they continued to look into the criminality that took place in full plain view when she was trying to put the kibosh on the whole thing. She argued that it is not customary for a prosecutor to release a report containing large amounts of evidence after a criminal prosecution, quote, is dismissed in a final order without an adjudication.
I need for y'all to hit the like button. I appreciate all the support with the gems, but I still need for the likes to go up. Double tap the three dots at the top right corner. That one right up there. I'll be back once they go up.
Who did to likely illegally protect Donald Trump after it was found that he had broken the law. And so, by the way, if customary for a prosecutor to release a report containing large amounts of evidence after a criminal prosecution, quote, is dismissed in a final order without an adjudication of guilt. Basically saying, hey, I said this thing is done. Why would you put out any of the evidence? Yes, it isn't customary. It's also not customary for you to have done literally any of what you did to likely illegally protect Donald Trump after it was found that he had broken the law. And so, by the way, if Canada had not stepped in this week to stop the report from coming out, it would have been available tomorrow, and we would have found out even more about this wildly illegal act. Look, honestly, I don't know how much more there is to find out. It seems pretty cut and dried at this point, JR, but evidently she was worried about that evidence being revealed.
Well, again, yeah, her job and
Yeah.
people in Donald Trump's judicial sector, apparently their job is to cover things up. That's really the main thing here. So if this would have come out, it would have disrupted his State of the Union address. It would have disrupted his presidency. By the way, there was information that came out about Joe Biden, as you were pointing out, with some of the documents that he had. And then people were incensed, were pulling their hair out over where are the charges? Where are the charges? Where are the charges? Next to the Corvette, next to the Corvette, next to the Corvette. Yo, when are we going to get some, accountability across the board? And as you said, if Joe Biden, which by the way was confronted with these things, needs to go to jail over to be charged, whatever kind of punishment comes, why would we have an issue with that? That's you bringing up the fact that you have no issues with this guy stockpiling all these things in a bathroom as they talk about national security interests, when he has this blatant directive ways of how they're going to make sure that we're violating our national security and allowing whichever ways he's used these things, which we've heard him bragging about. We're just going to trust him no matter what. But again, they want to keep telling us that they're not supportive of a dictatorial king-like figure in the White House who literally says, I'm going to do whatever I want. And again, even when the Supreme Court, ruled against his tariffs, he was ashamed at certain members. It's like all across the board how much this guy thinks. Every one of these judges should act like Eileen Cannon and then do everything they can to cover up all of the dirt that this guy is about. Just the suspicion of these things would destroy many people's political careers. And we're just seeing blatant and obvious violations of the law and the Constitution, and apparently we're not supposed to care.
Can you imagine how betrayed you would feel if you were one of these conservative justices on the court? That he's like, I'm ashamed at you for trying to dial back these tariffs that are wrecking my administration. After they basically made him immune from criminal consequences. After they did that, you don't ever get to be ashamed of, I'm ashamed of them for doing that.
You.
Not from
Hey,
your
Naturally
perspective.
Norland.
You don't get to be mad at them ever. They should be able to walk up and pee on your leg.
Oh, that was Naturally
You can't
Norland.
complain.
Thank
They kept you out
you.
of jail. How are you mad at them? But anyway, and by the way, the SCOTUS is an important thing to bring up in this context because, I hope all of you are mentally prepared for when Eileen Cannon is nominated for the Supreme Court. That's what this has all been about. But I don't want to end on a negative note. Very briefly, producer Mike wants to stay positive, so he added in a note that, of course, while the document is blocked from coming out, theoretically, were the Democrats to take over the House, which it looks like there's a good chance of them doing, Jack Smith has already testified. He would likely want to testify more before a Democrat-controlled committee, and he could potentially mention a lot of this stuff. Also, arguably, if he were to just give the report to a member of Congress, they could just read it out on the House floor, and then they'd be immune from any consequences. So one way or another, I hope that we get the information and some consequences. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming
Hold on.
an actual member, which you probably...
Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to.
I can turn your wildest ideas into a song. Just describe it in a few words, choose a style, and let Mareka V aid.
To a dozen Epstein Maxwell survivors. Today we are joined by Eric Fudali, who is a managing partner of the Bloom law firm and has also represented and continues to represent close to a dozen Epstein Maxwell survivors. Welcome, Eric. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I know this is a very busy time for you and there's a lot of different avenues to pursue. But my first question is, after the hearing with Pam Bondi and how absolutely disrespectful and deplorable she was, how did that leave the victims feeling, or survivors?
Yeah, I'm not even sure I could call that a hearing. I mean, to me, that was just like an extended temper tantrum by Pam Bondi. I don't know how else to describe that. It was so bizarre. And what's so strange about this is, for the past couple months or so, I've been, almost giving them, the Department of Justice, the benefit of the doubt and saying this is probably just pure incompetence. No way they are intending to disrespect the survivors. No way they're just intending to protect the potential co-conspirators and their potential co-abusers. But after that hearing, when Pam Bondi wouldn't even look at them, I mean, not even, not apologize. This administration is not a very apology-oriented administration, to say the least, but not even to give them the respect of looking at them in the eye, acknowledging their existence, acknowledging, what they've been through, just a temper tantrum. I mean, just yelling and pointing fingers and insulting. I'm at the point where I have no other reasonable explanation that this is a cover-up. There is zero disregard for the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. And the only care about from this administration, this Department of Justice, is protecting themselves. I mean, I don't know what other, and protecting their friends. I don't know what other possible conclusion you could come to after viewing that. And for the survivors, it's the same thing. What's so unfortunate about this is something they're used to, right? They have been wronged. They have been disrespected. They have been exploited. They have been victimized and re-victimized since the 90s. I mean, way back from the, from the Maria Farmer complaint that went to nothing with the FBI, to the Alex Acosta deal that I could speak hours about, how that was a travesty of injustice and allowed Epstein to continue to abuse, to Jeffrey Epstein being able to kill himself while in federal custody somehow. And then, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell being convicted and then being transferred to a minimum security resort after she was given a platform by Todd Blanche to just make things up. So, it's nothing new for them. And it's so profound that no matter how many times they're wronged, how many times they're re-victimized, how many times some of the most powerful people in the country, like Pam Bondi, can disrespect them, they still continue to fight. So they're frustrated, they're angry. But as you've seen, and as I think the public has seen for the last, couple of years or so, the more angry and the more disrespect they get, the stronger they get, and the more they're going to continue to fight.
I'm so glad to hear that, because it's so alarming how disrespectful she was in that hearing. And when they raised their hand, all the people who had not been contacted. And it's my understanding now that other countries, obviously the DOJ, they came out and said, we're done, hands off, we're done. You have other countries now launching investigation and asking for witnesses to come forward. Do you, as an attorney for these survivors, does that give you some optimism?
Oh.
So
I'm sorry.
So after the Jardians plays a role in my story.
Can I get y'all to hit the like button?
To a dozen Epstein Maxwell survivors.
Of course, Ghislaine Maxwell being convicted and then being transferred to a minimum security resort after she was
They
given
know she out.
platform.
They
by
need to
Todd
stop
Blanche
playing with
just
us.
make things up.
Absolutely.
So, it's nothing new for them. And it's so profound that no matter how long, how many times they're wronged, how many times they're re-victimized, how many times some of the most powerful people in the country, like Pam Bondi, can disrespect them, they still continue to fight. So they're frustrated, they're angry. But as you've seen, and as I think the public has seen for the last, couple of years or so, the more angry and the more disrespect they get, the stronger they get, and the more they're going to continue to fight.
I'm so glad to hear that, because it's so alarming how disrespectful she was in that hearing. And when they raised their hand, all the people who had not been contacted. And it's my understanding now that other countries, obviously the DOJ, they came out and said, we're done, hands off, we're done. You have other countries now launching investigation and asking for witnesses to come forward. Do you, as an attorney for these survivors, does that give you some optimism that justice will come? It just won't be from the United States?
It certainly gives me optimism, and I don't want to lose sight of the progress that these survivors have made, even in the United States.
But they're going to continue to do it if they don't have to stand account for it.
They did get these documents released. It was very clear, and I would have said maybe 5-6 months ago, I would have said, no way. This administration wants this story to go away. They are never going to give in. But because of the fight of the survivors, they convinced Congress, that they convinced almost the entirety of Congress, almost unanimous. They got the Senate. They even got Trump to sign it. This Epstein Transparency Act. So I don't want to lose sight, because there has been a lot of progress from the prosecutors, but it's clear from the Department of Justice that there's going to be no real criminal liability from the United States. So yes, we are optimistic that we're seeing some of the other, other countries, actually take this seriously, actually take a pro-survivor approach to this, which is in stark contrast to the way the United States has handled it. So yeah, there is some optimism. Of course, myself and my clients will absolutely be, participating in any lawful investigation, any criminal investigation that transpires, whether it's in the United States or abroad. We want justice, and we're not going to stop until we get it.
Let me ask you, how can you put pressure on the Department of Justice moving forward? Because there seems to be, like you said, because of the groundswell of support for releasing the documents, 3 million approximately documents have been released, but you have a whole another 3 million that have yet to be released. Mm-hmm. They're still covering up perpetrators' names while allowing victims' names to be unredacted. So how do you, as an attorney for the survivors, put pressure on the Department of Justice?
It's a great question. I think the answer is to continue doing what they did and continue doing what everyone has done to get to this point. Remember, there was a strong fight to ever release any of these documents. It took a lot of work. It took a bill to be passed, like an actual bill, to go through Congress, to go through the Senate, to get signed by the president, to get these files released. That was a lot of pressure, and that was an enormous feat for the survivors and for the those who have advocated for the survivors. So my answer to that is to continue to do what we've been doing, but amplify it up. Continue to call your congressperson, continue to call your representative, continue to raise the voices of the survivors. Don't let this story go silent. The administration is going to do everything they can do to try to distract, to try to put this story to bed, as they've been trying to do for the last 6 months or so. Don't let it die. Continue to advocate, raise the voices of the survivors. Trust, the survivors, believe women, believe these survivors, and be an advocate for them, because they're trying to drown out their voices. You saw Pam Bondi couldn't even acknowledge their existence. That's sort of a good, almost microcosm for the entire way this administration has treated these victims. Don't let them push them away. Continue to advocate, continue to fight, and continue to do interviews like these. Continue to put advocates for the Epstein survivors, and for just justice and common sense justice. Keep amplifying those voices, and I think hopefully that pressure will continue to mount, and we'll make more change, and we'll get true, exposure, accountability, and then ultimately closure for the survivors.
Can you sue the Department of Justice for the failure to prosecute? Or what are your remedies against the Department of Justice?
So we're looking into all of those remedies right now, and I've had a lot of meetings internally at my law firm with our clients, and trying to explore every avenue of suing the Department of Justice for for the catastrophe that this has been, suing district attorney's office, the FBI. The problem is the federal government gets to make the laws as to how the federal government gets sued. and it's not a simple task. There's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of yellow tape, there's a lot of delays, filing claims, there's a lot of red tape. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to stop it. It's not a deterrence to us. However, I think Congress and the people who are already in power have a quicker and better avenue for that type of thing than we do. Holding contempt hearings, filing lawsuits themselves, getting judges to oversee this. We're going to pursue every single remedy, we can, but I think it needs to be a group effort with the survivors' attorneys, and Congress, because the federal government puts a lot of red tape in the way of, lay people suing the federal government for, say, failing to prosecute or using their discretion. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of immunity the government has.
What about civil lawsuits against perpetrators?
Absolutely. So that obviously, of course, is something that we are pursuing. We were, of course, part of the civil lawsuits early on against Epstein and against J.P. Morgan. And we're continuing, as more and more information is revealed, continuing to consider and investigate certain lawsuits. Obviously, we are finding out, like I said earlier, there is some optimism here. There has been progress. We are seeing some names. We are seeing names that were previously, secret, revealed as possible co-conspirators, as possible, financiers of Jeffrey Epstein. And, we're investigating to see whether those people knew, whether they should have known what they were financing. It's important to remember that despite what Alex Acosta did in 2008, or what he didn't do, he did make Jeffrey Epstein a registered sex offender. That was public. So I think anyone who after 2008 continued to socialize closely with Jeffrey Epstein, continue to finance him, continue to just associate with him in a very close manner, knew or should have known that they were associating, funding, financing, socializing with a registered sex offender who was continuously surrounded by young girls. So I think those people have a lot of questions to answer. And as more and more names and more information are revealed, we are absolutely investigating, very specific people and looking into potential civil lawsuits.
Okay, I have a question that I've had since this whole, we're going to release the names. When Pam Bondi first came in, she was going to release all it. Then she said, oh, there is none. And then you find out they want to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, but they don't want to interview the victims. What are the victims able to create a list and release a list of perpetrators publicly, like come together, like say, you have.
Spectrum Mobile helps us stay connected because when I'm on the road, we can't go to bed without seeing each other's face. So that video.
A dozen clients. They put, all the names on a list and release that. What are the perils for them in doing that?
Yeah.
And is that something that you would consider?
So again, great question. So we'll start with the perils. The perils are that if they release names accusing them of sex trafficking or sexual abuse or anything related to that, they could very well get sued by those very powerful.
And wearing the gold medal like he won, it was just such an embarrassing sight to see, right? And I'm watching right there the ticker. We are getting closer right now to that 6 million subscriber mark. Then Donald Trump told the men's ice hockey team, well, he's deranged and demented, and now he's crashing out. This Touch YouTube channel is about to hit 6 million subscribers. We will be able to start this episode about 5 minutes earlier than our normal start time. State of the Union official boycott, the People's State of the Union, which will be streaming right here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel. We have about 40 members of Congress, senators, and members from the House of Representatives who will be giving speeches themselves. They'll also be bringing special guests with them. This has never happened in the history of the United States before, and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to share that with this community and to lead kind of a real, intelligent, humanity-facing State of the Union that we're calling the People's State of the Union. And shout out to the great folks at Move On for helping us, and all of the senators and members from the House of Representatives who are attending our event. We are so grateful for all of you. Donald Trump's been having psychotic meltdowns throughout the weekend and throughout the day as the United States Supreme Court struck down his tariffs against the world under IEEPA. So after the Supreme Court ruled against Donald Trump, what did he do? He unlawfully invokes another law, the United States Trade Act of 1974, which is not applicable. And Trump then imposes a new set of 15% tariffs on the entire world. And he says the Supreme Court said I won. They gave me more power, he says.
Oh, Lord. Ugh.
He's deranged and demented, and now he's crashing our economy. Remember when you had Pam Bondi saying, the Dow is 50,000, so I don't need to talk about covering up a child sex trafficking ring. The Dow is crashing today. It's about 48,000 right now. Not good. So I guess that means maybe the DOJ can take child sex trafficking seriously right now. And we're seeing the ramifications internationally, not in response to the Supreme Court ruling against Trump, but Trump's response of now imposing these 15% tariffs on the entire world and attacking.
This is the one I was looking for.
No
Dang.
annoying ads. No Wi-Fi, no
Yeah,
problem.
I'm finna
Play
head out.
anywhere.
Hold on.
Any more of this on email, OC and me. There have been shocking revelations from the Epstein files in just the past 24 hours. And then you had Kash Patel in Milan partying it up with the gold-winning Olympic hockey team from the United States. He was chugging beers. He wore the gold medal. This was after his spokesperson denied that he was going to be partying or hanging out or even going to the Olympic Games at all when he flew to Milan. They said, oh, it was just an official visit. But
I mean, drunk as hell.
Shocking revelations from the Epstein files in just the past 24 hours. And then you had Kash Patel in Milan partying it up with the gold-winning Olympic hockey team from the United States. He was chugging beers. He wore the gold medal. This was after his spokesperson denied that he was going to be partying or hanging out or even going to the Olympic Games at all when he flew to Milan. They said, oh, it was just an official visit. But I think it's important that we recognize this is all connected. Look, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, that whole crew, they have the goods on Donald Trump. They have Donald Trump by the you-know-what because they're actively, in my opinion, co-conspirators with Donald Trump in covering up a child sex trafficking ring. They are covering up Epstein files. There are still about, I think, around 50 terabytes of Epstein files that are missing. That could be tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of documents that are far more devastating than even the devastating documents that have been released. And we know from the documents that have been released, the redacted documents have 38,000 references to Donald Trump in it. We believe there could be as many as 1 million references in the unredacted files. And then in addition to the unredacted files, there's those additional 50 terabytes of documents. And so Kash Patel and this whole Trump regime, like, to me, they're out there gallivanting around the country and gallivanting around the world because they know what Donald Trump was up to. They now have all of the information, not just on Donald Trump, but his inner circle and their friends and the Epstein class. And this is the protectors of the Epstein class. So I think their view is, what's Donald Trump going to do with me? Watch me drink a beer. I'm not even going to work hard anymore. It doesn't even make a difference anymore.
Everybody in the locker room getting tips.
To everybody, I'm going to fly on private jets. You can't. I'm untouchable because I know what's really gone down in the Epstein files, right? Patel's been read on. Bondi's been read on. This whole regime, Bond with the gold-winning Olympic hockey, was chugging beers.
Throwing them back, baby. Throwing them back. Patel, Petey, throwing them back. P-Bro, yeah, look at him. What? He partied down. Okay. Patel, on our dime, he need buy us around. You understand? Let me get back. Where he at? Let's go.
Ehud Barak's email addresses. Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted child sex trafficker who's getting VIP hard anymore. It doesn't
She
even
is
make
out.
a difference anymore. I'm going to give my middle finger to everybody. I'm going to fly on private jets. You can't. I'm untouchable because I know what's really gone down in the Epstein files. You know, she had Donald Trump's number 2 at the DOJ, Trump's criminal defense lawyer, meet with her, and after interviewing her, and she said exactly what Trump wants, she got moved to this club-fed VIP facility. So I think people are like,
in
oh, got
Quebec.
it. So Ghislaine has dirt on Donald Trump. Look how she's treated. Kash Patel and Bongino, they're like, look, okay, what's he going to do to us? He ain't going to do anything to us. He's scared of the info we have. By the way, you know who else knows that? Iran and Iranian hackers who are out there saying to Donald Trump as well, guess what we did when we hacked Truth Social back in 2025? Guess what we have when we hacked your campaign back in 2024? Guess what we have when we've hacked
We got your dirt.
email addresses? Those Iranian hackers, 313 group and that whole crew over there, they've been hacking and doing spear phishing into Trump and Trump's inner circle for many years right now, and the Ayatollahs even hinted that they've got dirt on Donald Trump. So let's just take a look at some of these revelations just from the past 24 hours. Aaron Parnas from the Midas Touch Network, he broke the following. I mean, it's in the Epstein files, but he brought attention to this yesterday. In 2020, 1 year after Epstein died, an assistant United States attorney for the Eastern District of New York discussed a confidentiality agreement with the Southern District of New York in connection with the investigation into the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. That's how they were referring to it within the prosecutor's office when in Trump's first regime, in Trump's first administration, the murder investigation and getting out confidentiality agreements like the one we did when Epstein was murdered, not died by suicide, murdered. And you know from our previous reporting as well here on the Midas Touch Network that the day before Epstein died, the SDNY prosecutors in New York, they prepared a press release saying that Epstein died the day before he died. They had prepared the documents saying he died, and it didn't have the language by suicide or by apparent suicide. They just said that he died. And I think they basically implied that it was a murder as well. Then the next day they said died by apparent suicide after he actually did die. Let's just take a look at this email. It's dated June 11th, 2020, and it's from the prosecutors to each other, from Eastern District of New York prosecutors to Southern District of New York prosecutors. I'm an AUSA, an Assistant United States Attorney in Eastern District of New York, and I'm working on an investigation into the death of an inmate at Brooklyn MDC, Metro Detention Center. The OCME told me that it signed a confidentiality agreement in connection with the investigation into the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. We were hoping to extend a similar agreement, and I wanted to see if you could share the agreement or boilerplate version of it. I'm happy to speak over the phone if that's easier. My cell is, in other words, let's not put any more of this on email. OCME, the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, signed a confidentiality. Isn't there already HIPAA and privacy rules? Why would they need to separately sign a confidentiality order into the murder, is what the prosecutors use the word, Jeffrey Epstein. That was in the past 24 hours. That story broke. Connor Stringer writes, huge story this evening. This is from the Telegraph. Great reporting from the Telegraph. Jeffrey Epstein paid private detectives to remove equipment from his home and store them in secret storage units across the U.S. Search warrants reviewed by the Telegraph suggest U.S. authorities never raided the lockers, raising the possibility they may contain unseen evidence relating to Epstein and his associates. Epstein hid computers and photographs from the United States authorities in secret storage lockers, the Telegraph can reveal. Documents uncovered by this newspaper show the pedo paid private detectives to remove equipment from his Florida home in an apparent attempt to prevent investigators from finding it.
The documents also show that he rented 6 storage units across the U.S. and used them to house items from his properties, including computers from his private Caribbean island. He leased at least 1 unit from 2003 when he was part of a Florida social set that included Donald Trump. Then they show credit card receipts obtained by the Telegraph, show regular storage payments continuing until 29, the year of his death. The search warrants reviewed by the Telegraph suggest that U.S. authorities never raided these lockers, raising the possibility that they may contain unseen evidence relating to Epstein and his associates. The documents the Telegraph unearthed show that he instructed his private detectives to do this. He discussed moving computers and CDs from his private island in the U.S. Virgin Island, from West Palm Beach, from New York, and he was apparently hiding this from the government, and he was hiding this from prosecutors and from investigators who, by the way, doing basic investigative work could have been able to find this. So big story there. And then, the Midas Touch Network reported over this past weekend, and others did as well, that Ghislaine Maxwell this is the part that we reported that I think is important. She's pretending that she's unable to secure a personal lawyer for herself in connection with the criminal case where she was already convicted of child sex trafficking, and she's done with her appeals. She already lost at the Supreme Court.
She is out. When are y'all going to realize that?
What's called a habeas petition, which any prisoner can file, just saying they've discovered some new evidence, extraordinary circumstances exist, so that she should be released from prison. And she says, this new information involves some of the stuff that she's seen in the files.
She
has
a
the
wellness
audacity
check
to say the files vindicate her. She goes, now that I've seen the files, they vindicate me because it shows, she argues, she's a sicko. She's a sicko pedo. She says it vindicates her because it shows that no minors were involved, that the survivors lied about being minors, she said. The hell are you talking about, you sicko pedo? That's what she says. But anyway, she pretends she can't have a lawyer, but then her lawyers, in a civil case that's been closed regarding Virginia Giuffre suing Ghislaine back in 2015, and we know Virginia Giuffre died by suicide about a year ago or so, that Virginia in 2015, Giuffre sued Ghislaine, and in that case, Maxwell has hired lawyers to try to block 90,000 documents from coming out that are still being blocked in the Epstein files, and she's saying her privacy concerns are at stake, and that this is Rule 6E grand jury material, and she's saying that that these depositions should never come to light because it involves sexual things involving her. Well, you're a child sex trafficker, so I don't care if this embarrasses you. I care about the survivors, you sicko. So there's that revelation that come out. But then she's telling the federal judge in the criminal case that she can't find a lawyer, so she needs to delay things there. But she has a lawyer in the old civil case, and she had a lawyer at the House oversight deposition where she invoked the Fifth Amendment all of those times, right?
All right, quick confession. Before Tavala entered my life, I often had a moment of panic when I had to figure out what I was doing for dinner after a long day. I'm talking about that moment at like 7:15 where you realize you forgot to defrost anything, so now you're panic ordering $47 takeout or eating cereal like a college freshman. With our next sponsor, you can finally avoid the daily what's for dinner spiral once and for all. This podcast is sponsored by Tavala. Tavala is a smart meal delivery service, fresh meals, and a smart oven that does the cooking for you. Midas Touch listeners can get a Tavala smart oven for just $49 plus free shipping when you order meals 6+ times. Just go to tavala.com/Midas and use my code Midas. That's MEIDAS. Tavala makes it so easy. You just scan the meal's QR code, pop it in the oven, and it cooks everything perfectly. Steams, bakes, broils automatically. No guesswork needed. The other night I made herb roasted chicken with creamy pumpkin risotto in my Tavala, and it was incredible. Like it actually tasted homemade without me lifting a finger. Tavala feels like cooking in the future, except it's right now. Their meals are chef crafted with real, fresh ingredients and honestly save me at least 45 minutes a night. It removes that mental load of figuring out dinner. And it's not just for their meals, I've used it for frozen stuff too. Scanned Eggo waffles, done. Cinnamon rolls, perfect. With Tavala, you can finally dinner better and remove dinner from your to-do list. For a limited time, because you are a Midas Touch listener, you can get a Tavala Smart Oven for just $49 plus free shipping when you order meals 6+ times. Just go to Tavala.com/Midas and use my code Midas. That's a $49 Tavala Smart Oven when you head to Tavala.com/Midas and use promo code Midas. One last time, that's TOVALA.com, and make sure you use my promo code Midas, MEIDAS. Remember, with Tavala, dinner is taken care of.
So, a few things I want to bring up here. So, I think that Kash Patel, just look at him. He's mocking Donald Trump. In addition, how Donald Trump wears the gold medal, the fake gold medal. Kash Patel has, basically
Is
the
that
real
what
gold
he
medal that
doing?
isn't his, right? Donald Trump stole the Nobel Peace.
Is that what he called himself doing? Hold on. Is that what he doing? Wow.
Prize from Machado. You have Patel stolen valor, stealing the gold medal from the hockey team. But just look at his behavior while he's covering up a child sex trafficking ring, with Donald Trump. I mean, he's saying to the world, I don't give an F about this. I'm untouchable. Because this behavior is not just fireable. This is, in my opinion, this is as criminal as you get. Imagine being at the FBI and seeing your boss behave like this.
We all
Here,
paying
play
for
this
this
clip
shit.
of him in the locker room. Here's another clip that Ken Delaney posted.
We paying for it.
Let's go. And look, you want to know what I think is in those lockers? You want to know what I think is in those lockers? I mean, look, say what you want, but Michael Wolff, who was potentially going to be Epstein's biographer. He was Donald Trump's biographer as well. Wolff has called it spot on, all the stuff that Epstein has, in my opinion. And Wolff said that, there are photos that he saw of Donald Trump with girls of indeterminate age, with Trump with a stain on his pants, with these topless girls
So did
who
Luke.
are very young. And that, where are those photos? Wolff said he believed they were kept in a locker, in a safe in Epstein's place. Where are those photos? Are those part of the ones that are being hidden? What if the FBI did actually get their hands on those, and that's in the terabytes of documents that are being concealed? Remember when Michael Wolff said this? Here, play this clip.
Most definitely is.
But at any rate, at one point, after Trump had been elected, I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants. He being rewarded for not snitching. And the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing, covering
their gowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what's
and
the
pointing 3 or 4 girls, and
thank you
those
for the
are
bronze
ones
medal.
I specifically remember. And my assumption is that they were in the safe, and I have seen them on other occasions take them out of the safe, and I think it's it's certainly not unlikely that they were in the safe when the FBI came in after his arrest and took everything from the house, including everything that was in the safe.
And folks, people aren't buying any of this, though, right? I mean, even the right-wing podcasters are not buying any of this. I mean, you have Andrew.
Three of them. There are two in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a third in which he has a stain on the front of his pants. And the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing,
covering their mouths.
Yeah, exactly, and pointing, 3 or 4 girls. And those are the ones I specifically remember. And my assumption is that they were in the safe, and I have seen them on other occasions take them out of the safe. And I think it's certainly not unlikely that they were in the safe when the FBI came in after his arrest and took everything from the house, including everything that was in the safe.
And folks, people aren't buying any of this, though, right? I mean, even the right-wing podcasters are not buying any of this. I mean, you have Andrew Scholl saying this. Here, play this clip.
So now that we know that everybody from Trump, Patel, Bondi, Bongino, like everybody that was involved in this, this is just a hoax, we don't have anything. Like, they're all on record saying versions of this, right? With the latest tranche, all of that is a lie.
Yes.
Right? Has it been proven effectively that is complete falsehood?
What exactly is falsehood?
The statements that this is just a Democrat hoax and this is, I don't even know what that means.
And then, by the way, when Kash Patel was on state regime media, he was asked by Bret Baier, any regrets on how you've handled these files? Any regrets at all? Right? Any regrets? And here's what he says when he's asked if he has any regrets at all. Here, play this clip.
Professionals involved.
Bouncing around, the Epstein files, the last tranche, we're told, put out. Looking back since the beginning, and you've been a part of talking about this, and DOJ has obviously produced these elements. Do you have regrets about how it's been handled?
Look, like any other hot topic issue, the American public and the world had a great interest in this. And what we did under President Trump's leadership is produce the most transparent DOJ and FBI in history. 3 other administrations had the opportunity to do this, and we produced everything we legally and lawfully could. We worked with our partners in Congress, we followed the statutes and the court orders, and we produced, 3 million some pages? So I think we got to the result in the right way. Could we have gotten there faster? I'm not really sure because of numerous court cases, multiple protective orders, multiple court sealings. And so now we've produced everything we can while protecting victims' rights and
Do you think that it...
And let's just take a listen to what this Missouri voter says about this all. Let's play it.
He needs to be removed. Trump needs to be removed. And everybody that is kowtowed to him, Patel, Bondi, and all those people need to be removed and prosecuted for their crimes against the public. And the fact that he's taken all our medical money to finance ICE is totally ridiculous. It's sick.
And finally, I think this is a major, thing as well. I mean, look, I don't like showing videos.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go.
When Tucker
the lights
Carlson
are not
was
up to my
interviewing Mike
satisfaction. It don't make
the
no
United
sense.
States
After
ambassador
this,
to
I'm
Israel,
leaving.
top official in the Trump regime. Just watch this exchange. This is shocking stuff. Here, play this clip.
Many questions for the Justice Department, like why are millions of Epstein files still classified? Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I haven't kept up with that. I've never met the man. I don't know him.
You haven't kept up with the Epstein disclosure?
I mean, only from a distance. I'm 6,000 miles away from D.C. these days. I'm pretty sure that there's so much going on.
The current president of Israel, I know President Herzog,
knowing very well,
apparently was at Pedo Island. That's what it says in the disclosures. And of course, we know that the former prime minister, Ehud Barak, was living on and off at Epstein's house. So still living high-level Israeli officials are directly implicated in Epstein's life, if not his crimes. So I would think that you'd be following this.
I was not aware that there was any connection with President Herzog. I would be surprised to hear that, and knew there was about the former prime minister, who apparently had a lot of dealings with Epstein.
Business dealings, and by the way, I'm not alleging anything, but I mean, it's in the Epstein files, and I don't know that I've heard the current president of Israel respond to it, but he is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island, so that's kind of a big deal. I wonder, considering there are so many suggestions in the files, as I'm sure you know, of sexual abuse, and given that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, I wonder why the administration you work for would be holding millions of files, which I believe belong to the public, hidden for, quote, national security reasons. What would those national security reasons be, do you think?
Honestly, I think you've probably got more access to the White House sometimes than I do. You should ask them.
Well, but you're the government official representing that White House.
In Israel. And I represent the U.S. in Israel to the Israeli government from the U.S. government, but honestly, nobody has presented that to us.
Well, now
we have
that
a
you
pretty
know that
dynamic situation here. I don't know if you know that or not, but there's a lot going on in this part of the world, and frankly, that has not been top line item.
But you're surprised to hear that the current president of Israel, whom you know, is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island.
Had never heard that. Never heard it even in the Israeli press.
Are you going to ask him next time you see him?
I'll be happy to. Talk to him almost every week.
Really? Huckabee's claiming he doesn't know anything about this? I mean, come on, folks. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love.
Are y'all gonna get the likes up? Or y'all ready for me to end? Cause I've been meaning to talk about this one. Yeah, I've been meaning to touch this one. Hold on. No, you're not exaggerating. I've heard it too.
Not exaggerating, not joking around. This is wild and crazy. And this is also important because it was just announced by the United Nations that they are saying that the crimes that happen that are displayed in the Epstein files are now a crime against humanity. It was just announced recently by Rokana. UN human rights experts just concluded the Epstein files may have crimes against humanity. This is a big deal, guys. Check this out.
United Nations human rights experts just finished a review of the 3.5 million documents that the Department of Justice released because of Thomas Massie and my.
In the Epstein files are now a crime against humanity. It was just announced recently by Rokana. UN human rights experts just concluded the Epstein files may have crimes against humanity. This is a big deal, guys. Check this out.
United Nations human rights experts just finished a review of the 3.5 million documents that the Department of Justice released because of Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. What they found is genuinely revolting. They found instances of sexual slavery, of forced disappearances.
Sexual slavery.
Nations human rights experts just finished a review of the 3.5 million documents that the Department of Justice.
Check this out.
United Nations human rights experts just finished a review of the 3.5 million documents that the Department of Justice released because of Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. What they found is genuinely revolting. They found instances of sexual slavery, of forced disappearances, of torture. They concluded that it could be, quote, crimes against humanity. And they said that the Department of Justice did not comply with the law and had excessive redactions. That is why today I'm calling for three things. First, the Department of Justice must set up a special prosecution committee to go after those in the Epstein files that are accountable. Second, the Speaker must set up a select committee to have Epstein hearings where every person who went to that island is called in towards Congress and testifies. And finally, we must have a full release of the Epstein files, not protecting the predators, but protecting survivors.
Hey, and let's remember, we don't even get this far had it not been for those three working together on this. They really didn't want to release any of this information, guys. So this is what I said, like when you have people that are willing to come forward and to fight. So here is one of the emails. This is wild. Look at this, guys. So what it says here, apparently Epstein goes to a party to hunt ends, as he quotes. There are screenshots here. I had to blur out this image, obviously. But this email is October 2016 from Jeffrey Epstein. Thanks. Thrilling hunt. Ariane de Rothschild. Here we go with the Rothschilds again. Going to mean Lana's party now to hunt. Guess what? There ends. You can see it right here. That was from January 1st. And it says, guess what? There ends. The N word. Snipe hunt is over. Moon crickets in field bag. What were you talking about, Jeff? Remember, Maria Farmer said this group of people was incredibly elitist and incredibly racist. People are asking questions now. They're like, were they hunting people? Maybe some of those movies tried to tell us things a long time ago.
Yep, the Hunter Gang.
There were movies about this. There's a movie coming out about this recently.
One
Looks like
with
in the next couple of months about rich people hunting people. I can't remember the name of the one movie, but someone can probably tell me in the chat. Do you remember the movie with Ice-T, rapper Ice-T? Turned actor at that point. He went with a group of friends to hang out in the wilderness, and they said they were going hunting, but he didn't know that.
No, Rock was with some friends, and I thought that Ice-T was the homeless cat. You know, that they was one of the people that they haunted. Yeah, he was one of the ones that they haunted. Yeah.
They were actually talking about him, that he was the person, he was what was going to be hunted, not actual animals. Does anybody remember the name of that movie? Someone will probably tell me in the chat. But yeah. And I've been wondering for a long time. Skylar, surviving the game, thank you. Been wondering about this for a long time. We know there was a really popular show just recently which wrapped up called Squid Game. And
but that Hunter's Game,
watching all these people that are in debt have to compete for money,
they had
only to find out that they are going to be killed if they lose the game. You know, I really started thinking about that. And I'm like, what if there is rich people on some island somewhere that's rounding up poor people that are in debt and saying, hey, you can play this game, and if you win, you get millions and millions of dollars, and you can take care of your debt. And if the people lose the game, they're actually
I got a lady.
How do we know?
Hold on. Oh yeah,
Jeffrey,
where did I put it? God dang.
Epstein had a whole damn island trafficking people for years.
Yeah, I got one of those.
How do we know there isn't something like that? I almost gotta feel like sometimes Hollywood may be trying to tell us these things. So you'll see this clip here. This guy, his voice is kind of funny, just to forewarn you, but this guy was flipping out about it. Check it
So
out.
apparently, Epstein emails expose disturbing parties for hunting black people. These motherfuckers, not only did they have to traffic children, rape them, beat them, murder them, torture them, drink their blood to maintain youthfulness, literally cause most of the bad things happening on Earth now. All these world events like 9/11 and so many other fucked up things, and poisoning our food. But now, according to the emails, they had hunting parties to kill black people. This is not a fucking conspiracy theorist, guys. Bro, I will show you the emails. Going to Mean Lana's party now to hunt, right? You're probably thinking, oh, they're probably just hunting animals. Wait for it. Guess what? They are, yeah. So they were essentially hunting black people on Epstein's island, on top of raping kids, torturing kids, murdering kids, kidnapping children, and then he has the fucking audacity to say, thanks, thrilling hunt. This was 2016, guys.
2016. Yeah. And then they have it in email. Baby Love said, Jesus. Yeah. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, when people say, what do all these rich people do with their time? Honestly, this would not surprise me if these things were actually happening. Because I do feel like maybe Hollywood has been trying to tell us a little, on the low key.
I gotta find where I put it.
Shut. If you haven't seen it, now's a good time to watch it with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, where they're telling you about these elite societies and these rituals that they have. Maybe they've been trying to tell us.
2016. This was not the night. This was 2016. 2016. The peak of SoundCloud era. Way more recent. Oh, it was 10 years ago. This was way more recent than you guys think it was, bro. They've been doing, this is not old news. And the thing is, they're still doing stuff like this to this day. And they have been doing stuff like this since biblical times, since colonization, since slavery, since the Industrial Revolution. What makes somebody, what is in somebody's bloodline to make you hate somebody so much because of the color of their skin? What did black people do to you guys? What did black people do to you guys? Please tell me. What did they do? Nothing. Nothing. You know what it is? It's deeper than jealousy. It's deeper than racism. It's deeper than hate or envy or hatred or anger. This is evil, guys. This is evil. This right here is evil. This is evil. It is, you cannot be human at that point. All these colonizers and slave owners and racist people and all these elite pedophile demons. They're demons. They're fucking demons. I don't even think they're human. I don't even think they're fucking human, bro.
People have been wondering that too. Listen, nothing would surprise me nowadays. Nothing would surprise me nowadays. Quinn said evil and satanic. Like I said, you never know. Hey, listen, there's all kind of things going on. Megan Fox said so herself, actress Megan Fox. She said a while back that her and, what's his name, Machine Gun Kelly, that they drank blood.
Okay, yeah, we've been on that.
She wasn't even trying to hide it. You don't know what people are doing behind closed doors. We don't know what these people have been doing. But it's sick. This is what I was saying. The emails, the files are not just about the trafficking. It's about some other stuff too.
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, I think when it comes to Donald Trump and he was like, my friends could get into trouble, I think he might have been more concerned about some of this other stuff.
All of that. Child, all of that.
You're hunting black out of everybody. You didn't even hunt Latinos. Well, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
We don't know.
Black people are the main ones. And people wonder all the time, why do I always speak about black people? For shit like this. They're the main ones. They're the main ones getting targeted by demons. The movie Get Out was not just a metaphor or a symbol for racism. They were literally, because remember, they put the truth in movies and the fake in real life. They were literally telling us what they do to black people on these islands, even like from slavery to now. They still do this shit on these rich ass islands, in these underground temples. I'm telling you, they still do this shit, bro. The colonizers and the demons are still here amongst us to this day.
Listen, let me say something to you. What about all these people that go missing and are never found? What happens? Does everyone remember Elizabeth Smart, I think was her last name. Remember Elizabeth Smart? Remember she was missing for, I think, about a year? Teenage girl at the time. This guy came and took her out of her parents' home. And he was a part of some crazy kind of cult or whatever and stuff like that. Like these people that now, you know, luckily for Elizabeth, she made it back home. But what about all the people, the other people that are missing, and you never hear about these
so
people
she don't
again?
know.
When I was a kid, they used to put missing kids' faces on milk cartons. You know, eventually they stopped doing that. It's rough being a millennial. We saw some things. But when you see all these pictures of these people that have gone missing.
Just repeat what she done heard me say. Hold on. We don't, I already hit that milk carton in the airport, in the post office back in the day. I'm trying to find where I put them kids, that girl who was haunted. I just saw it, and I could have sworn I sent it over here. And she said how some of them survived and some of them didn't. And they would be in cages. I just saw it. Hold on. She said, let me hit refresh. She said they will be in cages until it was time for the honey. I thought I sent that to my IG. So I remember putting haunted. Hold on. Let me hit refresh. Yeah. Sure, they being haunted. What is this one? What is this?
A thing called Dexter.
Oh, that's the Clinton, Barbara Walters, Trump is. Oh yeah, here's this double stuff.
I don't care how many people try to tell me this is not President Trump. Over the weekend, going into Labor Day, rumors were swirling that President Trump had passed away, partially because he hadn't talked to the press in 3 days, and because J.D. Vance was telling the press that he's ready to assume the presidency if Trump falls gravely ill. Yeah, we know. That's your literal job description. Then President Trump showed up to golf over the weekend, and the Charlie Kirks of the world went crazy. But we have a problem. People are posting this picture of President Trump when it's from January. And they're posting this picture, which had some doctoring done because when you look at the reflection in the mirror, it does not reflect what's actually
why did they show those old pictures?
President Trump is scheduled to address the nation at 2 p.m. Eastern, and
this was back in September.
But this, ladies and gentlemen, is as bad as
y'all saw that eye?
George Orwell warned us in his book 1984 when he said the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final and most essential command. So, what are your eyes telling you?
What is that? Did that eye pop out? Did that reptilian thing show his eye? It's always up in there, even with Pam Bondi, right? It's like you could tell right up in there. So this is one of the ones who hold on, I came over here for the girls, but hold on. For the honey. There go that eye. Baby, they say you can look at a person, look them in their eye. Yeah, no. Yeah, they try to give me a hard time. They don't want me to show this thing. Huh? They didn't want me to show it. Tried to kick me out. My shit. Yeah, we back. They didn't want me to show it. It started going around and around, wouldn't let me out, wouldn't let me. I had to refresh, reboot. They ain't want me to show that eye. Huh? Nat, thank you, Nat. Absolutely. He one of them things.
As always, let me know down below. I don't care how many people try to tell me this is not President Trump. Over the weekend, going into Labor Day, rumors were swirling that President Trump had passed away, partially because he hadn't talked to the press in 3 days, and because J.D. Vance was telling the press that he's ready to assume the presidency if Trump falls gravely ill. Yeah, we know. That's your literal job.
No, it ain't no coincidence.
And President Trump showed up to golf over the weekend.
It's been doing it lately.
Of the world went crazy. But we have a problem. People are
My
posting
other device
this picture
just
of
stopped.
President Trump when it's from January, and they're posting this picture, which had some doctoring done because when you look at the reflection in the mirror, it does not reflect what's actually on the staircase. President Trump is scheduled to address the nation at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is as bad as this. George Orwell warned us in his book
Biden.
1984 when he said the
In the
parties told you to
Epstein
adjust
files,
the evidence
Biden
of your
been-
eyes and ears.
been
It was
gone.
their final and most essential command. So, what are your eyes telling you? As always,
My eyes telling me that ain't it. My eyes is telling me that them eyes right there ain't him. What is all? These people are cray. Do you hear me? Do you hear me, as Gardo would say? Do you hear me, dear me? They don't want me to show this. Do you hear me? Yeah, let me make it bigger. Look at there. It was too hot out there. That thing started melting. Every time I come, yeah, I'm gonna show. Now I'm gonna make it bigger. They keep messing with my device. Yeah, my eyes is telling me. My eyes. You ain't. My eyes is telling me I ain't never seen nothing like this in all my life. What in the hell is going on up in here? Up in here. My eyes have never seen. What is this meaty shit right here? What? Look like you can grab it and yank that thing off. Take it off. Take it off. Huh? Yeah. That's what it's telling me. And I came over here. I told y'all I had this stuff. Why y'all don't want to hit the like button? They don't want me to let y'all see this. I'm telling you shit. I mean, they was clowning today, wasn't it? Yeah. Come on. Come on back. Y'all, this device is doing everything it wants to do on its own. And when I tell you it is not a coincidence, it is not a coincidence. Okay? It's intent. It don't like me showing this out. This is funny to me. Yeah. Let me find these kids that done been hunted. It is just really doing its own little thing. Oh, that's extra meat. Let me see if I can find these kids. These people is crazy.
Right at the beginning of Ramadan, there's no coincidence why these things came out. And who are the people that people? They're everywhere. They're the deans at your colleges, the owners of every corporation. They're in everything. They're all on that guy's list.
Now, Timothy, you ignorant. If you think we gonna let you come over here and talk that shit, you crazy as hell. Bye, Timothy.
And all of your movies have been eating people. They're putting
Oh,
out
yeah,
now
so they
each of
done
these actors
stole my
enjoyment
pictures,
in
send over some clowns. Y'all see what's happening?
He's a full cannibal. You can't imagine. We are not eating food in Ramadan. And these people, because they're not human, they have given themselves to what you don't understand. They're called the marada, the evil jinn, ifrit. Every type of wickedness, that's their food. And after evidence comes, judgment of the heavens comes. Right at the beginning of Ramadan, there's no coincidence why.
They eating people because they the devil. They eating people because they the devil. Hold on. What is this?
Representative Melanie Stansbury asked us why we aren't paying more attention. Today on Blue Sky, Representative Melanie Stansbury asked us why we aren't paying more attention to this document in the Epstein files. This document is a 2016 FBI complaint form referencing events that allegedly happened in 1994. The attorney that contacted the FBI on behalf of his anonymous client indicated that she was 13 at the time of what she describes in this allegation. The reason this document is important is because it is one which clearly names Donald Trump as a participant in a crime. The great tragedy of the Epstein cover-up has been that complaints like this one and thousands of others have been largely ignored by law enforcement. But that doesn't have to be the case going forward. Here are some of the details from this complaint.
Oh, he is not gonna tell you. But what he did was made her, or he raped her orally and anally. Yeah. Trump is sick. Let me tell you that now. He is a very sick individual. That child was 13. That's the UFO guy. What is this one?
They went down with a salvage ship, dropped.
For some reason, a lot of stuff is coming up UFOs.
Just barely, because it was 15 meters in diameter and 12 meters in height. The bottom portion was damaged, but these people on board immediately identified it as an extraterrestrial craft.
Oh, they knew something. They played this game before.
So they transported it to Groom Lake, or Area 51. They opened it up. They found remains of 2 extraterrestrials inside. They found that these 2 extraterrestrials were at control panels. They had hand indentations where these extraterrestrials would be placing their hands.
How many fingers?
5 fingers, but there was no control mechanisms in there. So each one of them was approximately 68 inches tall. They were human-like. They had some kind of caps on their head. When they removed that, they found out there was hair. It was blonde hair.
Huh.
Now today, they would be considered the tall Nordics.
Ah, the tall Nordics. Okay. I thought you were going that way.
And in the last compartment, and this is somewhat of a shocker, they found human remains. They went down with a salvage ship, dropped.
So are the UFO grabbing people, or were these UFOs being guided and driven by humans? Which one? I'm trying to find the kids.
So this is Epstein's defense attorney, Alan Dershowitz, saying that if he's a part of a certain group of people or knows certain people, that he can get out of things that most people wouldn't.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about? And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
So that.
I remember waking up and I could look across and there was literally hundreds of cages. And there was children, small children in these cages, and they were all attached. So they were in such tremendous pain that they were really tremendous pain. It was a darker energy because obviously the children were being tortured, just absorbing the energy from the children. And I survived it, but a lot of the children in there didn't survive it. I was like 7 years old when this happened. I was one of the children that survived electric shocks. Now they were also had sort of out of my body, but I could hear and I could see, but it was like far away sort of thing because I was disassociated really bad. And then I remember that I could hear them speaking, and they were going to take this energy and they were going to put it on food. They were going to throw this dark energy on food. So whoever eats the food would also be. They would be charmed and they would be energetically, parasitically linked and they would be depressed and all sorts of. This energy works on the negative emotions. It absorbs it.
Baby, that's I'm sure out of this they doing it, but I am trying to find the one about the kids.
Hillary Clinton was actively involved in 1977 that I know of in the trafficking of that adrenalized blood, and that is the kind of murder that I witnessed, so that was put into what Bill Clinton had already established as the CIA's cocaine operation, the MENA cocaine operation. She was using the satanic blood aspect, so she was involved in human trafficking, child sex trafficking, but above all, child harvesting for the adrenochrome all the way back in 1977. The horrors that I have seen are unconscionable. They're inexcusable.
Were you told by people you worked with under the operation, or did you ever see Hillary engage in any of this?
Yeah, I was exposed to Hillary in the 70s, in the late 70s, and throughout my MK-Ultra victimization.
Wow, if you don't mind, please tell us that, because I remember when Tex Mars had this huge library, and this was pre-internet, he showed me all these news clippings like AP about one time Al Gore gets off an airplane and a small refrigerator falls and busts open full of bags of blood. And there are other witnesses that he literally doesn't just do IVs, he drinks it. I mean, I remember you 30 years ago were naming names going through it. Who are the world leaders you were working for? You know, the Pentagon as a very young girl. You go out of the Satanism as the feeder group into the MK Ultra. How much of that do you remember? Then the programming, then you're going around, you were saying you directly saw Hillary Clinton involved. Because now we have these thousands of emails about all the jerky, and the jerky's being delivered, and we're isolating it, and it's in the freezer, and we're sending it to labs. And man, we're going to get off this jerky diet. It's all we've been eating. And then we have Woody Allen and all of them talking about, no, these are kids. They're eating flesh. They're grinding up the bones for roughage or for fiber in the guts. I mean, this is hell world. It's not even coated. They're like one piece of pizza for 7 people. It's glowing. It loves it. You're going to really enjoy it. The Podesta emails, WikiLeaks. We're living the 7, 9, and 11-year-old to the hot tub for your pleasure, for your entertainment. And the Aleister Crowley stuff, I mean, it's just unspeakable. So
Hillary Clinton was actively involved in 1977 that I know of in the
I really am trying to find the one where they're talking about Trump settlement. Them kids being haunted. It was a little girl. It was a girl. Here you go. Got it. I'm ending on this one, y'all.
They would, at the hunting parties, they would, like there would be, they'd have all these expendable children outside.
Expendable children.
At the hunting.
Let me take this down so y'all can see. Expendable. What made them expendable? At the hunting parties.
Parties, they would, like there would be, they'd have all these expendable children outside. At the hunting parties, they would.
I need y'all to hit the like button before we can talk about these hunting parties, surviving the honey game or the hunter's game. Hit those 3 dots at the top right. There is 3 dots right up here on your device. Peter. Standio Bill 13. Kraft gave a lecture on how anti-gravity works. Hit the 3 dots at the top right corner of your device.